Guys, so let's see if this works at all. Okay.
That sounds much better, Mark.
You can hear me better?
Okay.
Can you guys hear me? Can everyone hear me? I don't know if anyone can hear me at all.
Password is 576.
Okay, you can hear me better, but I can't hear you guys. So I think I'll have to do it like this.
9.
Okay. So welcome everyone. Why don't we it's the table, it's Mr. Sci-Fi. So thank you all and for being here. So why don't we just start with people chiming in? So Dave, do you want to take your turn? Go ahead, please.
Well, hi. Hi, everyone. I got some friends over there, Shy and Billy. Hello there. Where are you two zooming in from?
Hi, we're in New Orleans.
Great.
Oh,
great.
But, yeah, Shy and Billy wanted to come to the table, but...
Hey, Mark.
Hi. Hi. Hi.
They've been wanting to come to the table. They haven't gotten around to it, and now they're on the road and down in New Orleans. So good to have you here, finally.
Great.
It's just been
there we go.
For me, it's just been a kind of standard week here in Sequestraland. Been working on Space Command. We've got a lot of stuff to do, and suddenly we have a lot of more stuff to do.
Great.
So working on it and just trying to keep my tension low and my anger low, because I know we don't talk politics here, but
great.
I got plenty to be angry about. So
yes.
Just trying to survive, and I hope you do too. So let's go on to somebody else. I got nothing much to report today.
Great. Now, can you guys still hear me okay? Yeah, good. Okay, good. I'm just trying to work on the tech here. So great. Well, 3 cheers, Dave. Yay. Good to have you here. So Larry, do you want to chime in and check in? Let's see. Can you? Okay, let's see. There we go.
I think I just unmuted myself.
Now we can hear you. Now we can hear you. We can hear you
okay.
now. Great.
Hello. I'm excited to say, half excited to say, I'm on the wait list to see a casting director at Kelsey and Company through, I think the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, obviously remotely. I'm hoping that'll come through. Yesterday, I had an intense session with Carrie Messina. She blew me away in a good way.
Oh, good.
So,
good.
I have lots of homework to do. Dave Edison helped me today to update my reel.
Great.
And so I guess that's the gist of what I have to report.
Cool. Well, that's great. Is there anything you need?
I guess time to work on my projects. You can't give me that.
Great. Well, 3 cheers, Larry. Yay. So now
I wish every update was that easy. You asked me to change your email address on the video. That was about it.
Yes.
Well, as a headshot, whatever.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's great. Now, also a question came in on Mr. Sci-Fi.
Yes.
Piano Dean says, "Hi, Mark. Do you recommend the novel The Postman over the movie? And did you care much for the movie?" I haven't read the novel, so I can't really speak to it. Though I do know the author very well. We've gotten together many a time, and but David Brin. But the movie was adequate, not great, so I don't recommend the movie. But I've heard the novel is better, so that's my 2 cents on that. So great. So now let's get back to the table.
And on the note of the YouTube live, I would mention that the nature of this meeting, because I noticed the past couple of weeks from the YouTube folks, we've gotten a lot of questions that aren't really related to the industry per se, but more of your, which is fine.
Yeah,
but
it's fine. Sure,
we might want to keep those questions industry related. Table related,
well,
so to speak.
But again, I think we're going between the 2 audiences, so it's okay. I mean, again, whatever people can get out of this, that's fine. So, but okay, Susan Flakes, do you want to take your turn? Go for it, Susan. If you can unmute your mic. Oh, we can't hear you. Can you unmute? We can't hear you. You have to unmute your mic. There we go. Go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still working on a screenplay with the producer. And we're hoping to be able to film in spite of everything. We're working on casting,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a big. I'm really fond of Felicia Rashad. I worked with her, and now I'm trying to get her to either be an actor in it, or a producer, or director.
Great.
She could do all three, or one of the three. So that's where I'm working now. Casting has been really difficult.
Yes.
And the producer I'm working with has cast well in the past for things he's done.
Mm-hmm.
He's having trouble with this one because we need Black actors and we need a Black director. Anybody know a female Black director that's hot to trot? I'd be very happy to meet that person.
Well, and I think that because everyone is stuck at home now, you might want to make a list of the female Black directors you'd like and just start following them on, like checking them out on their social media presence and seeing what you can do to reach them, because I think people are more accessible now, more reachable now. So that might be a very good thing to do. And people are bored, so they want things to do. And they don't just want to keep watching Netflix. So I would urge you to start reaching out to people and see who might respond, because this is a very good time.
I reached out to the Ideal, but that was too ideal.
Yes.
Like Cassie Lemons, she's the one who did the Harriet movie. And my character's also named Harriet and also a slave. It's a very different kind of a person.
Yeah, but having done that movie, she wouldn't.
I think that when I reached out to her, I just, I was warned by my co-producer, she's not going to want to do another period about slaves.
No, of course not. And so
I've reached out to Ideal, but I don't know all of them. There might be people I'm missing.
Right. And again, the trick is always to not just settle on one person, but like make a long list of like 20, 30, 40. I mean, really spread your net, and they all should be people whose work you like. But also a very good choice for a movie director is a really solid TV director. Oh, Adam, did you have something to add?
You might want to look into Aisha Tyler.
Aisha Tyler? How do you spell her name?
Aisha Tyler. I'll put her name in the chat.
Great. Thank you.
Great. Cool. That's great. And again, the trick is always saying, okay, what's going to be the cornerstone that's going to make things happen? And, it's fascinating because we're writing, many of you know, we're writing a new episode of Space Command that we're shooting with our actors shooting in their own homes on their own cameras. And we're 26 pages in on the script right now. But I started with Michael Harney, who's an actor well known for Orange is the New Black and Project Blue Book. And I started with him and then reached out to the other actors that I wanted to utilize, Robert Picardo, Mira Furlan, Bill Mumy, J.G. Hertzler, who's in Star Trek a lot, and my friend Armin Shimmerman, who played Quark, because having one person aboard already and then building from that and having more and more and more, I just built a critical mass. And so it's exciting, so that's what I would say. Anything else, Susan?
No, that's the primary focus that I have right now.
Great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay.
Aisha Tyler is a comedian as well as a voice actor. So I don't know if her comedic sensibility is right for you. Just be aware of that.
Yes. But also I would look at your favorite TV shows, dramas, and see, because they're using a lot of young female directors now, and particularly directors of color. It's really worth checking out. Now, there was a question, and by the way, for Mr. Sci-Fi fans who may not know what I'm doing, for 27 years, I've been running my roundtable of writers, directors, actors, producers. Now that we're all under lockdown in the pandemic, we're doing it online. So I'm actually talking to 2 computers simultaneously. There was a question from Anna Media. If you had to write a Star Trek episode, which was about how did society stop using money and transition to a post-money society, do you have any ideas of how such a transition would happen? Well, we're in it right now. I mean, people are using their phones for money. People are using credit cards. I mean, we're moving into a post-money world, and particularly now with all of us stuck at home, most of us probably are not paying cash for what we're paying for. So I think we're living a science fiction story right now, quite frankly. So anyway, but as I said, and for those who have concerns about or questions about what I'm doing here, I'm talking here. Hold on a second. See, I have another screen. Let's see if I can angle it here. with a whole bunch of faces on it. These are table members, and every Thursday night we get together to coach and ask questions and get advice, and that's what we're doing. So, and I'm alternating between answering Mr. Sci-Fi questions. So, hello, guys. So, Adam, I guess it's your turn. Do you want, unmute and go for it?
Yeah, I can do that. I'm just replying to a question on the live stream, actually. So I have been a busy little boy, as Robert Amico likes to say.
Yes.
I just this week, there's been a ton. My agency has sent me a ton of open call auditions.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Adam Sartain. I'm an actor, voice actor, musician, and also do a bit of producing and tons of other hats. But primarily, I like to call myself an actor. So I've been getting a ton of open call auditions from my agent. A bunch of casting directors are like, have nothing to do, and so they're like, "Hey, send us a tape, send us a self tape." So I did a very nice scene. I did the end monologue from Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, great!
Which I wanted a serious scene from a funny movie, and so
Cool.
And Robin Williams is the best at that. So
yes.
So I did that, and it turned out really well.
Cool.
So I sent that off. And then I've been getting a ton of voiceover auditions as well. Haven't booked anything yet, but I'm hopeful.
Great. Well, good.
Yeah, and that's me.
Good. Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, the main thing is for all of us keep active and not assume that this is like a 3-month vacation, to just really,
right.
And, but again,
in addition to that, I've also been, I think I've said this in weeks prior, but I've been posting I can do over close to 80 different voices, accents, and impressions.
Cool.
And I've been doing 3 a day on my TikTok and Instagram and Twitter.
Great.
I actually started building a following on TikTok.
That's great.
Which is crazy for a 37, soon to be 38-year-old.
Wow, that's great. Congratulations. And now also, in terms of casting, by the way, I should mention that we're actually having a worldwide talent search for an actress to be in Space Command. I just posted it on Mr. Sci-Fi. People can download the sides. It's the younger sister of Captain Laura Essex. So the age range is 17, 18, 19, around there. So if anyone wants to spread the word about that or wants to audition for it, you can just go right onto that video on Mr. Sci-Fi and click through to the sides and shoot your own video and ship it to us, and we'll look at it. So, and you'll be in this new Space Command episode with Bob Picardo and Mira Furlan and Bill Mumy and Michael Harney and Nichelle Nichols and so forth. So cool. So I guess Jacob, you're next, I suppose. So go for it.
Okay, Jacob Cam here, longtime writer, producer. I'm very happy to be on these Zoom meetings. I mean, they're great to break up the day. Also, Mark, I'd like to make a suggestion that even when this mess is over, that maybe once a month we have these meetings for people who come and go from LA or who don't live in LA. These have been actually great.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Sure. I mean, again, it's always, I think it would be a good idea to do it. And, so that's fine. Sure, you bet. So how are you doing?
I'm doing good, working on some projects and extra time, get creative, a lot of thoughts, and willing to help people. So it's actually a bad time, but it's actually, there's a silver lining to it.
Yes, that's great. Is there anything you need?
Not really, just wishing everybody stay safe and stay productive and get ready for when this thing is over. Great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay. So Adam, I noticed a question about exposition from the Mr. Sci-Fi audience. And so what's the best way to deal with exposition? Yeah, I mean, the answer to that, and that comes up frequently in bad scripts where all of a sudden everyone's just saying all the exposition. The trick with exposition is figure out the least amount of information the audience needs to have, and then find a way to say it in an elegant way that isn't bald exposition. So if it's within character voice, within the action, or a great way is in an argument, because the one time that people say the most obvious things in an argument, they'll say, well, your sister, I remember when she was at the wedding and she said this to me and I said that to you and blah, blah, blah. But another way of doing it is,
figuring out how to be very subtle about it or have a visual that gives the information. Every now and then you just have to say it flat-footed, but if you have to just say it overtly short, keep it as short as possible, and that's the way you do it. So David, David Goldenholtz, do you want to unmute and go for it?
Hey, I'm from Florida. First time on this specific table. And wait, you can hear? Yeah. You can hear me?
Yes. Yeah? Yes.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. So I'm a field mixer, and I also do some voiceover. I don't do as many as Adam does over here, but yeah, I just want everybody to stay safe. I don't really need anything at the moment, but I keep you updated if I do.
Great. Well, thanks. Thanks a lot. Yay. So I guess Shy Pilgreen, if you want to unmute and tell us what's up and what you need. Yeah, there we go. We got it? Yeah, there we go. Good.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. My name's Shy, and I'm a writer, producer, actor. I guess I co-directed this project that we are currently working on now. But I would not necessarily say I'm a director. What I'm working on now is a show that I wrote, and I have been trying to pitch this show on and off for a few years, actually. And I've gone through a few different producers, when I started to try to pitch it, there was producers who were all over it and wanted to pitch it for me. And then, I got sick and I had breast cancer. So I kind of took a break. Yeah. And Dave actually was one of the main editors on this project. So, that's why it's fabulous. But that's one of the reasons it's fabulous. And so then I started to slowly get back into it recently to try to pitch again. But I actually put it on. At one point, I started putting little webisodes out there on YouTube to try to see if I could get a fan base. Yes. To see if then I could go into the rooms to pitch. Yes. Yes. And say, hey, we have a fan base. But now I'm wondering, was that a bad idea? Because now I'm getting told, oh, so it's been seen. I don't know. And I'm like, well, not the whole actual episode has been seen. Only a few small snippets have been seen. Right. So I don't really know what's good, what's bad.
Well, Johnny, what was the most viewers any of the webisodes got? Do you remember?
I think the first one got like 80,000 views.
That's good.
Wow.
And then kind of tapered off after that. And I think we've put 6 webisodes on there. So I think we have about 5 more. So I stopped showing them around the time I got really sick. Yes.
Well, I mean,
and now I don't know what to do.
Well, 80,000 is a good solid number, and so what do you want to have happen? What would you ideally? What would happen?
Ideally, I'd love for someone to pick it up.
Yes, but you know what? Well, but who's the someone? Do you know where you want?
Netflix, Hulu.
Netflix had it in it.
Well, Netflix did have it in an experimental pilot program, and then I never heard from them again. But the person who had pitched it to them was working at Netflix at the time.
Sure.
And then they're not working at Netflix anymore.
Okay.
So where are they working? Where are they working now?
Well, he works with Joel McHale. So he goes wherever Joel McHale goes. He's a writer for Joel.
Yeah. Okay.
So
here's several things I would suggest. First of all, don't let other people pitch your project. Make sure that you're in the room when they're pitching your project, because then you are establishing yourself as an individual that the executives know, and that makes it easier going back. Okay, just to let you know.
How do you get in that room?
What? I'm sorry.
How do you get in that room?
You insist.
You don't have a connection.
You insist.
No, if a producer is bringing it in, if you have a producer who's bringing it in, you have to insist on going with them. The writer should always be in the room, because then, let's say I say to you, oh, instead of that being shot in New York, could that be shot in Chicago? And as a writer, you could either say, no, it's really Chicago specific, or you could say, yeah, sure, that I could do that. Then I might say, well, could the hero be a woman instead of a man? And you could say yes or no. And if I said, well, could we do it on this budget? And you might say no. You know what you could do and what you couldn't do, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's very important, because you can move pretty quickly because you really know the material. So in terms of changes, coming up with ideas, but you want to be a presence, or else you're invisible and somebody else takes it over. But go. If you go in with a producer, if you go in with somebody that they know and trust, that's great. But just don't. But if you cannot go in alone, then you've got given yourself more credibility. But don't let them take it and have you not be there at all.
Yeah. So, and this is Elaine, by the way, for those who don't know.
Yes, forgive me for my lateness. Just as I was about to sit down, the dogs made a thing.
They needed to go. They needed to go outside. That's what Elaine's meaning. Yeah. So
I think that's great advice. I would love to go in the room. Now, though, I don't actually have a producer who's pitching, so it would be me. And I don't have those I don't even have the way to get in touch with acquisition.
Well, yes. Well, okay. Let's break it down a little, because this is a constant problem that people have. First step is figure out what your bottom line is, and that's what your bottom line is. So if it's like, I don't let people attach and then walk it in and pitch it without me in the room. That can be what you do. But secondly, when you're saying, well, you'd like someone to pick it up, now is the moment to get specific. You should check out all the potential buyers, see who those are, figure out who the executives are, start researching who has a social media presence, who's on Twitter, who's on Facebook, who's on Instagram, who's on, the dog vision. The dogs just ran by, but the thing is, they're reachable now. And like, I'll give you an example. I was at the Nebula Awards, which is a big science fiction award, about a year ago. And there was an executive from Amazon who was looking for books to turn into, projects, series for Amazon. So I managed to get his card. Well, I followed up with him just before the pandemic closed in, and he emailed me back, and we had a meeting via Zoom during the pandemic. And now Amazon is considering 2 of my projects. So, but he didn't know me. I just happened to have a card. But also remember that anytime you get the email from any executive, usually all the executives have that same template. So if it was, sorry, Elaine, I think we have to. Yeah, sorry about that. Dog fight. There we go. It's all bluff. They're brother and sister, and it's all bluff. So they're terriers. But it's good to have them here in case we run short on food. But the point is, the point is that, like, if the email was mark.zickery@netflix.com, then most of the executives, not all of them, but most of them, would have that template. So that's who the executives are, and then you can reach out to them. I mean, the whole thing is to be persistent and charming. Persistence with charm is the way that you make it all work. So that's
any platforms that you would recommend for a Southern-based dramedy that's, how would you describe it? Would that be right?
It's a raunchy, dark comedy.
Well, sure. There's a lot of markets for that. So I would just make a list of 10 or 15 networks or VOD platforms that would make sense, and go for it.
Remember, there's a big base in Georgia now. A lot of our table people have gone to Georgia.
Yeah. And where are you based now? Where
right now I'm in New Orleans.
New Orleans. Yeah, that's great.
Well, we have we've got a lot of table people in Georgia.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of what
that's Louisiana. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it's close.
Yes, you're close. You're close. You're closer than we are.
But also, I mean, the way to call back and forth. But if somebody says it's a warning sign, they say, well, it's already been seen, so we want something fresh. What you do then is you say, aha, that's something I have to answer before it's asked. So you say, I put it out there as little trial balloons. So before they get worried about it, to say, and I found out that they really went for these little bits and pieces and wanted to see the thing itself.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
it doesn't seem like it's been made old. It's that you just put out little trial balloons with a tiny tippet of this and that. So from the get-go, they understand what's up.
Right. Oh, and also to everyone who's on this Zoom call, this Zoom meeting, if you can mute your mics if you're not talking, that helps, because then we don't get a lot of crosstalk. So, and then when it's your turn, you can unmute if you have that level of proficiency.
They said that you put it out there in little trial balloons to just see if people liked it, and then you
say, and I got this many hits.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wanted to see the whole thing.
Here's the trick.
So they know it's not been burned. They just know you've got an excitement.
Yeah. I mean, again, the trick is whatever's going to get them to pay attention. That's it. I mean, they're sitting at home, they're bored, they want to have an excuse to not have to relate to their children, and so you know if you send them a thing saying, hey, here's a raunchy Southern comedy that's gotten 80,000 hits, they might check it out.
Well, I sent up a trial balloon about this, and I got my 80,000 hits.
Right.
Just for this little snippet.
Right.
And they all wanted more.
Yes.
They wanted to see the thing itself.
You know,
so I know it's got an audience.
What you do is you try stuff, and then when you see what works, you do more of it.
Yeah.
And
but if you know that that's a concern, you can answer it before they express it.
Yeah. But it has to be specific. It has to be, okay, this network, let's look at who the executives are. And also, you know, if there's shows that are like, if they like that show, they're going to like this show, you can find out who the executive overseeing that show is. And that could help too.
Because if you have a certain tone and you know that they can't get that tone, or everything that this particular executive does is sort of like not to your taste, forget about them. You know, look for people where you share their taste, because if you like them, they'll probably like you.
Yeah. Okay, great. Anything else?
That's pretty much it.
Great. Well, 3 cheers.
Who's that lug nut sitting next to you?
This is my husband, Billy. He's a musician.
Yay. Good. Well,
and some voiceover. I try to do, I got a lot of irons and a lot of fires, so to say.
Good.
But basic stuff. I am trying to, especially now, get more into voiceover. I've got like a home studio that I work out of, mostly music. Like she said, I am a musician by trade and have been a touring guitar player and just musician since I was about 19. So
great.
And I'm far from 19.
Well, you look great. So
yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So voiceover, I've been trying to do that. I've put together recently a VO reel for myself out of the studio and just trying to break into that. I've got some friends who are a couple of real close friends who have massive success in the voiceover world, and I'm just trying to lean on them a little bit to get my stuff to their agents and this and that. So in its very infantile stages right now, but that's kind of been my major goal.
Yeah, well, that's great.
So,
I mean, again, the way you succeed is in anything is by persistence. You know, as I said, Nicholas Meyer, who directed Wrath of Khan, I had lunch with him a few years ago, and he said the secret to success in Hollywood was persistence with charm, and he's absolutely right. You just don't stop, but you do it with manners and with politeness and with empathy for others.
You don't make the person feel as though they were just looking right through them toward your objective.
Well, yeah, exactly. You treat people like people.
Yeah.
So great. Well, 3 cheers, guys. Yay. Oh,
thanks for having us.
Appreciate
And
it.
Mark, we can get caught up on our
Mr. Sci-Fi
YouTube live stuff.
Sure.
Piano Dean says you recommended A Canticle for Leibowitz to me, and I loved it.
Good.
Do you see it ever becoming a movie or series?
It was done as a very good radio adaptation some years ago, and I'm sure you can find that if you search the internet. It was very well done. I think it's been under option pretty much ever since it was written, but no one has made it into a series or a movie yet. And because it focuses on nuclear Armageddon, it's less likely it would be done now than in, earlier decades. But you never know. And but I recommend it highly to anyone who hasn't read it. It won the Hugo for Best Novel. It's called A Canticle for Leibowitz. It's about a monastery that keeps the fire of knowledge alight through the centuries after a nuclear Armageddon. It's a really good book. So great.
Okay, so just in terms of references, somebody asked about exposition while I was unleashing the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't seen Big Trouble in Little China, they purposely do exposition very badly
as a joke.
It's
and really fun.
You really get a sense of where exposition is shoehorned in.
Yes,
and so it's a lot of fun where they're making a satire of bad exposition.
Yes, that's right. So great. So Mark Barron, why don't you take a swing at it?
Hello, everyone. I'm from New York.
Great.
I am a 12+ year board member of SAG-AFTRA.
Wow.
I run the oldest theater organization in the country called the Lambs. I'm an actor, singer, but the thing I'm working on now is along with the team, we're putting together a $3 million comedy feature about computer geeks, the lottery, and the mob.
Cool, fun.
And we're in the process of trying to raise the money and looking for another producer to join the team to help move it forward.
Yes.
Script has been doing very well in festivals. We've gotten recognition from 22 festivals, often landing in the top 5 or second place.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a good project, and we're keeping our determination, because when all this passes, I think comedies are going to be something people are going to want to watch.
Yes, that's great.
Yes.
Well, amongst the things you might do is you might, with the festivals where you placed and you did well, you might see what other filmmakers and producers were at those festivals and reach out to them now via social media and say, hey, we were at this festival together, wanted to check in how you are, blah, blah, blah. And just kind of, see if you can spread your net that way. And also, again, as I said earlier, make a list of who you would like to work with, and reach out to these people, because people.
We've one of the things I found very hard, even as a board member of the union, is that getting actors to read the script pre-financing. It was Matthew Broderick who encouraged me to write many years ago.
Oh, good.
And we've kept in touch, and I've been trying to get him to just read the script. I said, what else have you got to do right now?
Mm-hmm.
If you like it, we're not going to use your name and play any games that we've got you attached. But everyone's just hesitant on reading scripts.
People hate reading scripts. That's the thing. And it's because most movies never get made. Actors don't want to waste the time on a movie that isn't financed, because it's just a waste of time, and they've been through it a million times, and every single person they know has written a script and wants them to attach to it. So it's much easier to get producers and directors attached than actors.
Yeah, that's been I talked to a casting director and said that actors used to read a lot of independent scripts, but it isn't just that it wastes their time, it's that they get enthusiastic and the money never comes.
Yes.
And so that's happened to a lot of actors far too many times.
Mm-hmm.
So anything, if you get it to an actor, anything you can do to make them feel that you're hot on the trail.
Mm-hmm.
And if they, they're mostly worried about the financing, whether it will sell, you get the money. And if you get a good director. So anything that can convince them that you're almost there, that you're hot on the trail, and that you have a really good game plan and director that they would like, it's very, very helpful. But yes, a casting director said it used to be easy, but it just got too hard because there were too many really good scripts that never got a penny.
Another factor has been there have been a lot of lawsuits from actors.
Yes.
That read a script and made some kind of encouraging remark, and next thing you know, they're getting sued that they didn't follow up on a picture they claimed or attached to. And they'll win a lot of the cases, but they go through the expense of defending themselves.
Yeah, it's a huge drag. I mean, again, it's just start listing producers and directors who you'd like to work with, who've made movies you've enjoyed, and start reaching out to them. I mean, that's the angle of attack I would choose. But also, my method now in my life is I just shoot stuff. I just, I pull stuff together as best I can, and off I go. I mean, the fact that Elaine and I have written a new script for Space Command that we're shooting during the pandemic with everyone, at their own homes on their own cameras is just, why the hell not? See, the thing that's so amazing is how many people have. Everyone has a video camera. Everyone has, a computer nowadays, and so it just gives you such possibility. That I would rather be creative. See, we're always there are only really two modes for an artist: audition and the actual art itself. And auditioning is where you write a script and you're trying to get people to read it, or you're auditioning for a scene or for a role. But then when you actually commit to making things, then it's a completely different objective, and then it just becomes logistics. And I would much rather be in the active position of creating stuff and making stuff happen, particularly if talented actors. you don't say, attached to this, you say, hey, I'm shooting some stuff on the weekend. Can you show up? I mean, it's like, but that means that you have to spend years and years developing relationships, because they're not going to do that for someone they don't know. And
also, do be sensitive to the fact that because actors want control of the material, because normally what they get is not really up to snuff, is if you offer them a producer position. Because if they want to take a producer position, sometimes that's alluring, and it moves them in the direction of getting control over their own material, which saves them a world of grief in terms of being able to pick things that are really good for them, as opposed to what they have to do just for the buck.
Right. But yeah. So anything else, Mark?
No, that's it. Great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yay. 3 cheers. So Adam, did you have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes.
And for those, oh, by the way, Adam, for those table members who don't know what Mr. Sci-Fi is, I have my own YouTube channel called Mr. Sci-Fi, where I post about science fiction pretty much every day. And so my Mr. Sci-Fi fans are also on live stream while we're doing the table, and it's just a way of spreading the net and making sure everyone is not alone. So go ahead, Adam. What's the question?
Yeah. Animadia, again, with a really great question. What would you say stands out as the toughest moment of your career, and what lessons did you learn from it?
Woof. That's a hard one. Boy.
It's a doozy.
I think that when I was writing The Twilight Zone Companion, my agent was submitting it for 2 years straight, and it was rejected 25 times. And I would have given up, but Elaine said, let's just keep going. Let's figure out what's not working. And we ended up changing agents. She submitted to one of the publishers who had rejected it, and to an editor, a young editor who had the power to buy. And it sold, and it became a huge bestseller, and it's still in print after all these years. So I think that was a hard time, because I started writing that book when I was 21 years old. And
well, it was a very big agent who was not selling it. And she was doing her backhand work for that.
Yeah.
And so he moved to a smaller, hungry agent, and it sold very quickly.
Well, she had come out of publishing as an editor, so she knew everybody, and so it worked out great. But that was a dark time. But
so I guess the lesson here was listen to Elaine.
Yes, which I've tried to follow for the last 43 years, and it's worked out very, very well. I mean, because it's. But I mean that there have been many dark times. But if you, over the years, of course, over a long career, but if you just commit that nothing is going to stop you, that's kind of a lifeline that keeps you going forward. And I find that very, very helpful.
And how many rejections?
25 rejections, yeah. So great. Okay, great. So now I guess Carrie and Derek, I guess you're next. So if you want to unmute.
Hi.
Hello.
So last week I said that we were going to do a 48-hour film competition, and we did it.
Yay.
And shared it to the list.
Great.
Got nice feedback.
Thank you.
Cool. Good job. And where are you now? Where are you located?
LA.
You're in LA. Great. Terrific. And so do you have any questions or anything you need?
I guess if anyone hears about any more open calls, I would love to also have that information. That would be nice.
From my actor friends, I've heard that there's a lot of stuff happening where actors are shooting, because actors have gotten in the habit now of shooting their own auditions. In some cases, or even the role will be where the director will be on a separate, link like Zoom or whatever, and they're doing their roles just in captivity, basically. It's a very interesting and strange time. But yeah, sure. But again, I think the trick is, that all of us have to be extremely proactive, and now is a great time to reach out to people. So I would urge you. And but also that's an email you can put out at the table saying, how does one find out about the open calls that are happening now? Does anyone have any advice? And people will. So I would definitely put out the word, because a number of my friends who are actors say they're auditioning more now than ever before.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. So any other questions? Anything else you need?
No, I'll ask that to the email list, and
Great.
Thank you.
Yay. Yeah. So Adam, another question? Is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question? If not, that's okay.
Yeah, no, there's more.
Okay, go for it.
Let's see here. Animadia again asks, got some great ones. When you and Elaine write Space Command scripts,
yes,
what do you find that you bring to the story that Elaine doesn't, and what does Elaine bring to the story that you don't?
That's an interesting question. Well, do you want to start with that? You start, and I'll pick it up.
Oh, well, he's a sci-fi guy, and he will catch all the cliches that I think are just so original. And he's also, good with action. We catch each other on a lot of. Yeah, I do some action.
Yeah.
I just do some heavy-duty action.
Sure.
But the main thing is that my background isn't science fiction. It's more social, psychological drama.
Right.
And I also came out of acting for that. And so I'll be really focused on the character, and he'll be more focused on the driving through line of the story. Would you say that was?
Well, it's not that cut and dried, because sometimes Elaine comes up with a really good structural idea or a story idea. Other times, yeah, I mean, we're more interchangeable than you might think. Basically, like with the script we're writing now, this one, Ripple Effect, the one we're shooting now, it was just basically back and forth. And so Elaine might write the first draft of a scene, and then I might rewrite it, or vice versa, or we just keep rewriting it until we both kind of like it. In this case, I initially was envisioning something that would use a lot more visual effect shots that we already had, and a lot more scrap from the dailies and so forth. And Elaine then had an idea of making it much more like Spoon River Anthology, where it was much more monologues. And since that was interesting and different, and we hadn't done it before, I thought, okay, let's do it. I mean, I think the main thing is to embrace experimentation and not worry, oh, well, what if it doesn't work? Well, if it doesn't work, then you keep working on it until it does. I think we, it's like whichever one of us kind of seems to be in the groove on something, or get it, or have a trick to the scene, or an idea. I mean, we just kind of back and forth.
Fresh eyes are good.
Yeah. And also, Space Command has evolved so much over the years, because as we've been writing and filming, we get to know the characters better. We get other ideas, so it's in constant state of revision and evolution, and that's fun. And with this script, we're going to be introducing the audience not just to the characters they've seen before, but also characters that we're going to be shooting in later episodes that we haven't seen before.
But by
and that's really fun.
He'll start with the great idea, the great turn, and I'll start with the theme.
Yes. Well, Elena will be the one who says it has to mean something. It has to have a meaning. What's the meaning? What are you trying to say here? What is the point of this? And I think that's vital, because otherwise you end up writing, we have a term for it in Hollywood, crap. And so, and I prefer not to if I can avoid it. So so that's
hey, Mark.
Yes.
Mark.
Yes, I hear
so
a voice.
I've had a lot of experience with you guys over the years, and read several scripts both of you written together and independently.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that I noticed that there's one script I read, Ashes, that I liked very much, and I thought, well, this is a very emotional scene, and Elaine must have written that because women more emotional typically, and the cliche that goes with that. And I said, in this action scene, well, Mark had to write that, because he's more like the action kind of guy and the sci-fi guy, and it was the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting. Elaine's action scenes were really rocking, and Mark's emotional scenes were very moving. So there's that too.
Well, yeah, and again, as a professional writer, you have to actually be good at a whole bunch of stuff. And so both of us are solid pros. We've been writing professionally since, for 40 years. And so that's how it works. But it's great fun to be collaborating, because you constantly are surprised by the other person or their idea, or they come up with something really interesting. It's just fun. We're having a very good time writing this. So I guess it's Robert Harrington. I guess you're up. Go for it. Are you unmuting your mic? Let's see. Oh, there we go. Go for it.
Okay. So actually, I'm kind of happy that we're doing these on Zoom, because I live in Palm Springs, so it's become very hard for me to get up once a week.
Yes.
But no, this is kind of worked out for me. I didn't say it, but it
great.
So what I've been doing is I'm kind of living the world of in my transition from just being a writer to being a filmmaker, which means that over the last, I'd say 8-10 months, whatever, it's just been nonstop, almost every day, becoming a pain in the ass to my wife with all the questions and things that I bring to her that I think are interesting. But I've done the scheduling on using Guerrilla software. I've gotten all the way through that. I think I've become a real expert with Final Draft, and transitioning and doing all those different things. Gone to tons of courses, either on site or online. So it's been a kind of a thrill to almost every day to learn something new.
That's great.
And so what I've been doing is really focusing on one script, looking at it as a full feature, working towards getting it funded, and so on. And then recently I've decided what I really need to do is do a small short first, and we call it a proof of concept, slightly different maybe than just a trailer, things that I would work into the Kickstarter campaign. I've done some casting. I've had some real good successes in some of the things that I've been coordinating with. Right now, what I need to do is take my script and sit down with whoever my director of photography is going to be, and work through and that sort of that vision that I have for my script, and then sit down with the director of photography and say, okay, what's possible and all that. So I've done a lot of research on different shots and all those kinds of things, and just the vision part of it has just been fun. Need to make it formal. I need to get to the point where it's a script that can basically go out to a number of actors and so on. So I've been staying busy, and it's just been say one other thing. I just wanted to ask Mark and Elaine.
Sure.
What's your feeling about the effect of this COVID thing on Kickstarter funding?
Well,
have you seen a slowdown on it? Or
yes, people are more reticent to give money because they don't know if they're going to be having to eat human beings or whatever. So
we found it was two things. Yes, people are more afraid because a lot of them are losing their jobs, and we don't know for how long. But also we found out that some of the people who were the most generous, because they had play money, which they used in the market.
Yeah.
And because the market has become so uncertain, a few people who have been very generous in the past are watching the market, and they have to be much more careful because the market has gotten very dicey.
But that said, we had a Kickstarter campaign that started before the pandemic and ended during it, and we still managed to raise $57,000, and that's allowing us to keep our doors open of our studio and our small staff on salary for the next month or two, and that's vital. And so we were still able to raise money that we didn't have. And so I think the real answer to anything is try stuff. Most people are far too timid, and there's no reason to be, because if you fail, okay, they're not going to put you in failure jail, and so which might be a good idea for some people, but the point is that people are so afraid that it's going to mean something. And if you say, well, failure doesn't mean anything, none of this stuff means anything, what am I trying to accomplish? I'm trying to work out to an audience that's meaningful and lasts. And it's like, if you're clear on what your objective is, then you just try and cut away everything else so that you're not hindered.
Yeah, I always wonder, if you're running really fast and you fall down,
yes,
you trip and fall down, are you going to just lie there?
Some people.
You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, really. But go ahead.
Well, I'm thinking what I've taken the approach of having my original script, my original feature film, my vision for it is just I've budgeted out in approximate ways. Without even thinking about anything other than what I would really love to see. Here's how much it costs.
Yes.
Okay, that's second. And go back and say, okay, do I really have to have that scene at the drag strip with 10,000 people?
Yes.
That out. And how much can I cut out and still have the story be a great story?
Yes.
Right.
And then the last thing I've done is how much can I cherry pick out of the story? Really cool little scenes for a 7 or 8 minute proof of concept.
Sure.
None of them are really all that expensive to
right.
make.
That's great.
So Just go for it that way and see what happens, like you said.
Cool.
Just,
well, great. Well, 3 cheers.
Well, and before you cut a scene, get your DP, because you may be seeing it in one way, but you may be able to give the impression of the same thing for a nickel and a dime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. But great. Well, that's great. Anything else, Robert?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Yay. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question. What?
And we should probably ask if anybody has to leave early.
Does anyone have to leave early? I know, Irina, that you're in New York, and does anyone else have to bug out? We
can go out of turn.
But
if you have a problem and have to leave.
Yeah,
early.
but let's take a Mr. Sci-Fi question quickly, and then we'll go back to the people in sequence.
A quick one from Gregory Krug. Where is it? Silly question. If you could have one superpower, what would you pick?
Wow, Jesus. Well, an easier answer for me, because I've thought about this significantly, is if I had a genie and it only allowed me one wish, what would that wish be? And my wish would be that everyone in the world have empathy for all the other people, and I think that would change the world significantly. So that would be my wish. But okay, so I guess Nathan, we'll do Nathan, then Carol, then Judith, then Irina, if that's okay with you. And so Nathan. Oh, Nathan Wilds? Oh, there you go. Great.
Yeah, I'm reading.
Yeah.
So hello. Many of you know me and seen me many times before. My name is Nathan Wilds. I'm a writer, director, producer, and working towards becoming a line producer.
Cool.
I spent a lot of today working with David Bartlett on Space Command.
Yeah.
Got a lot of good work done today.
Cool.
We've got script forward. It's a lot of good stuff coming down the line. So it was a good, productive day in that regard. As far as myself, a couple things going on. I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago about this podcast that I'm trying to develop. I'm working now with Mark, the editor, who's online. And we're going to be starting to test out some various ways to do calls, like record a call, or to record a Zoom call, or to kind of test the audio of it.
Great.
Try to find the best medium.
Great.
Run those kinds of things through Audacity or Audition.
Mm-hmm.
To see if we can put together something that's going to sound good on a podcast. And I know I think we had talked a little bit, Mark, that I kind of wanted to have you be one of our guests.
Sure.
Or maybe even our first guest. I don't know if you had seen the email I may have tried. I think I tried to send.
It's
with some of the details of what I wanted to talk with you about. It probably got lost in the
it probably got lost in the shuffle. The way to actually get on my radar is like contact Angelique and just say, make sure Mark's aware of this, because it's going to be, we're so busy with all the stuff we're doing. Though actually, interesting enough, the issues about Zoom and all of that you're talking about, Rockney O'Bannon and I are creating a new series called Sweet Haven, and I had an idea of doing a table read with our lead actors on Zoom. I think that would be a really fun thing to do on Mr. Sci-Fi, and we'll see if that comes to fruition, but then we would need the technology that allows us to do it.
Actually, if I can chime in on that, several other places have done it. And the way you do it is you can record a Zoom meeting.
Huh.
So what you do is record the Zoom meeting and then, edit it and post it on YouTube.
Great. Cool. That's fun.
Yeah, we're going to do a Zoom test. We might also do a Skype test. And it's mostly, about bringing it into something like Audacity or Audition to kind of spruce up the audio or clean it up such that it can be radio quality, if you will.
Great.
The only other thing I'm kind of bouncing around in my idea, in my mind, is since this is a time when finding work is somewhat difficult, I'm wondering if it's worth it, both financially and otherwise, to maybe pursue going back to school for. There's a Full Sail University program on entertainment business that I think would be very beneficial to me, especially as I want to be a line producer. But again, I don't know if it's worth the time and effort to pay that kind of money, invest that kind of time, but I think it could be worth it in the end. I'm just throwing it out there as something I'm considering.
To see how am I thinking about that situation?
I can't hear what's going on.
Oh, if someone is. Oh, does someone have? There we go. They turned off their mic. Good. Oh wait, is someone? Okay, did they turn it off? Okay, great. Yeah, make sure you're muted if you're not the one talking. In terms of taking courses and all of that, the problem, as you say, most the film, Hollywood is one of the few places where you can get your degree and it doesn't actually mean much. It's like if you were a brain surgeon, the path to being a professional brain surgeon would be very, very clear, and there's a reasonable expectation of getting employment in that profession if you actually go to medical school. But in Hollywood, it's just it's totally crazy.
Well, just to amend that to a degree,
sure.
When it comes to the business side, which is what you're trying to deal with, there are a lot of the programs are bogus, but a few are very, very good. There are a few producer programs that are very good. There's a few programs that are excellent. So what might make it worth it is you see whether, if you ask for their graduates and what kind of jobs their graduates got, and then you would probably find out a little bit more whether that would be worth it to you, because what you need to know is very specific and very, very valuable, because it's how to maneuver through the money and the contracts. So but double check who they've taught and whether they've got jobs, and if they're known quantities, known entities, and then you just sort of get to them on social media and say, was this class worth it to you? In which case, I would definitely say yes, given your ambitions, which are very specific and very, very demanding. But do due diligence on that before you spend anything. But it would be great during this time to learn more about it. If they're really, what's the great producing class?
Oh, the Ray Stark or Peter Stark? The
Yeah.
Stark program at USC is very, very good. So that's, I'm sure,
But that's for
expensive.
producing. Yeah, but that's for producing. But
Ray
I'm saying
Stark.
that there are classes that are excellent. That's
Yeah.
one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, but do due diligence, because
yeah.
the majority of them, unfortunately, are bogus.
Well, but not even bogus. It's just sort of make sure that whatever course you're taking has some record or some track record of employment arising from this program, and then talk to the graduates and find out if they got jobs. I mean, I think that would be the main thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything else, Nathan?
No, I think that's all.
Okay.
I'll try to contact you again with regard to the podcast.
Sure,
I think
yeah.
I really enjoy being a part of it.
Oh yeah, no, happy to do it. Happy to do it. Thank you. Yay. So great. So Carol, go for it.
Sure. Okay. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Can?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Guten Tag. Happy Passover, everybody.
Yes. Happy Passover.
Happy
Passover.
Pesach.
Yes.
Guten Pesach. I have a little list. I'm really happy to see you all. A show I did at the El Portal in February just keeps bringing me things.
Mm-hmm.
I've been asked to audition for 2 things from it. Sky wants me to be in his movie when we get back to going, which is cool because I'm used to auditioning for everything. For someone to say, I want you to be, it's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And his friend is a friend who's interested in, I might have brought this up, in my animated stuff. So it's really exciting. I have a synopsis. 3 companies have been interested in my animated stuff. So I just understand. So the other day, I took out a week and I wrote the opening pilot. It really came out good.
Mm-hmm.
Really cute. So I'm just really excited. I'm using this time to do that.
Great.
It's really great. Yeah, thank you. It's great. Is it a good time to look for a literary agent or manager? I'm still on that track.
Well, you can
listen.
You can try. There's no downside. I mean, but it's specificity. Make a list of who you want to reach out to, and then see if you can get to them.
Okay.
I mean, it's great because people really are. Everyone's kind of making it up as they go along now because this is such a different way of life for most people. I mean, fortunately, Elaine and I work at home a lot, and our team, many of them work at home, the VFX artists and Dave Edison and so forth, and David Bartlett. There's a lot we can do, but for most people who are used to going to an office and used to punching a time clock, they're just at sea, most of them, and that includes agents, that includes executives. I mean, they are just climbing the walls. And
I contacted my agent, my kind of erstwhile agent. I'm not signed to him anymore, but whatever.
Yeah.
And his office is completely dead.
Yes.
Is what you're saying. He said there's not an inkling of anything going on. I felt terrible for him.
Yeah, but again, I mean, for me, all I can do is take personal responsibility. Elaine and I are writer, director, producers, so that's what we do, and that's what we better damn well be doing while we're under lockdown. I mean, it's like this. We're not on vacation, So again, because I'm very clear that my relationship is with my audience, then everything else is kind of superfluous. Like it's like, I mean, if I have an agent and a manager, fine. If I don't, okay. I mean, there's a lot of. It's such a different world now, and it's so. I mean, so I would pursue reaching out to agents. Why the hell not? And you never know what will happen. But again, be specific. Don't just be random. I mean, figure out who you actually want and go after it.
The only notable difference for us is our dogs think, "Oh, you're home all the time. I think I need a walk every 10 minutes."
Well, yeah, but that's the other part of it. So, anything else, Carol?
Yeah, real quickly. Do you think roadmap writers or Inktip are kosher at all?
Well, it is Passover, so let's see. Inktip seems to be pretty good from the little I've seen of it. The other one I haven't heard of. What is? Give me that name again.
Roadmap writers.
I have no idea. But again, that's something where you can put it out at the table and you'll get response. I mean, the reality beyond everything else is that most movies do not get made. Most scripts do not get shot. And if you really are committed to what you're doing, and I don't mean you specifically, I mean any of us, it's like, I mean, I'm committed to getting stuff shot, and it's like I have zero interest in development, but you have to be in a position in your life where you can do that. And,
and there are definite steps.
Yes.
And it's not like most writers want to be producers. It's just that you get sick of things not as good as your stuff getting made.
Yes.
And remember, you don't have to be there's multiple producers that get onto a made project.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't have to see yourself as the producer as in line producer, as in, getting all the money on your own producer, but just say that you're the engine that will keep pushing this thing, because that's what a producer is. A real producer is the guy who never stops.
Mm.
And so if you just say, okay, I'll get whatever skills I need to keep this moving, because everybody likes to get on board a moving train.
Yes.
But it's really hard to find someone willing to be the engine. And if you're willing to be the initial engine, it's surprising what you can get done.
Yeah. So anything else?
No, just thank you both for being here.
Oh, you're very welcome, Carol. Yay. So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes. Luffy is God says, big He-Man fan here.
Yeah.
Have you or any of the old creators been consulted on the way you would have gone with the original show by Kevin Smith? Or is the new show going to be as bad as the new Star Trek?
Well, I first of all, they never come to us. They never, I mean, even on the Twilight Zone, they don't come to me, which is pretty amazing since I'm the world's expert on the subject. No, but the Smurfs people didn't come to me. The He-Man people didn't come to me. For those who don't know, I started in animation. I wrote a ton of animation when I was in my early 20s. Smurfs, He-Man, Super Friends, Real Ghostbusters, Phantom 2040, tons of stuff, Pole Position, on and on, the Littles. And no, they never come to me. And so, c'est la vie. But again, if I'm creating my own content, if I'm continuing to create and do work, then their lack of attention to me is not going to ruin my day. Okay,
and I also I'll chime in on this as well. When they in the process of redoing the Animaniacs, I happen to have known one of the writers who was on Animaniacs, and they didn't consult.
Oh, yeah.
It seems to be something that just happened. That's how it works in Hollywood. They get new writers if they want to reboot it.
It's all about relationships. I mean, the executives hire the writers they've been working with, whether or not those are writers who are on science fiction shows. So if someone was good on CSI Bangladesh or whatever, they're gonna hire those people because they've been working with them, and so that's why a lot of science fiction shows are so poor. So now I guess we're going to Judith. Judith, you're up.
Hey, Judith, welcome.
Yeah, if you can unmute your mic. Let's see. She's trying to unmute her mic. There you go. We should be able to hear you.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Oh, it is so good to see you guys again. It really is. How are my buddies?
Yes, the dogs. The dogs are good.
They're good
I miss
now.
them. Anyway, I unfortunately have not been doing too much. I've been very, 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 very ill. I had what Whoopi Goldberg had.
Uh-huh.
And yes, and it's the worst thing about that is that you can't breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've heard that breathing is very good. It's a very good thing to do.
It is.
However, I have been working. I've been rewriting my demo and my animation demo. I'm working on my on-camera demo. Although how I'm going to shoot that, I don't know, but I'm ready to shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sending the big A out on Tuesday.
Great.
To 3 people.
Great.
I found a friend of mine who will be very happy to play God in the trailer, which I'm now writing again. I'm just, I've been, this last week is the first time I've been actually able to, it's my own fault. I had something and I neglected it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Christine Laurie who told me to go to the doctor or she was going to throw me out the car door. So I went and I didn't have corona, but we don't know because they didn't have the test. What else am I doing? Oh yeah, I've got 2 things. Do you hear my cat? Your dogs and my cat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, happy Pesach to everybody.
Thanks.
Yes.
I have 2 books that I'd like to option. One I've had since 1976. Takes place in Montreal. Now, it's written by Trevanian. And he's dead.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So I don't know how.
I knew he
I've
was
been
ill.
dead for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's another comedy which would star, I think, Dolly Parton. What would be the best way to option Dolly?
It's tricky. I mean, you'd have to go to his agent. So what you'd start with the publisher, and then contact the publisher and say who's his agent, and then you find out the agent's name and you contact the agent. But the problem with dead writers is that the agent wants to see the money. And whereas when an author is alive, you can meet them and get them excited about the artistic aspects, but the agent doesn't give a shit about that.
But it may not be an agent. It goes into people's estates.
Might be the widow.
He's been dead a long time.
Yeah, so it might be the kids or whatever.
Yeah, it's a question of tracking who owns
try
the
stuff.
rights.
Yeah, you just try stuff.
You can start with the publisher, but yeah, the thing is, it's often easier when the writer is still alive because they'll respond more to art than money. Often.
Yes.
It's really easier dealing with live people.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
But if it's something that hasn't been noticed for a long while, you might be able to have a conversation.
It's worth trying. There's no downside to trying.
I'll try.
Okay, good.
I'll try. And I'm working my demo. I had read it to a couple of people, and they said, "Oh, you need to do a series."
Huh.
And there's somebody at Netflix who's interested in it.
That's great.
Great.
So that would be good. I've just been so out of it. I've been running a very high fever for a long period of time.
Yikes.
And at one point, Jim wanted me to go to the hospital. I said I wouldn't go because you know who's in the hospital?
Yes.
Sick people.
That's right. Exactly.
But I'm really glad to be back, and I'm glad to see you guys. I've missed you all so dreadfully.
We missed you.
Yeah.
But you can hear by the energy, I'm back.
Great, that's great.
It takes a lot more than that to get me down.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, now
That's about it. I'm just doing whatever I can do.
That's great. Well, Judith, just to let you know, we're almost done with the radio play. Judith was in the Space Command radio play, the prequel.
I'd love a copy of it and take a couple clips, and I'd like a couple of clips of my thing in Space Command.
Sure, of course. We'll coordinate with Dave and we'll make that happen.
Yeah,
we'll make that happen. That shouldn't be hard. Yeah, great.
I want to get my demo together. I mean, I see what's happening, and get the audio demos out.
Great. That sounds great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay.
Thank you.
Great. So, Irina, you're up. Go for it. If you want to. There you go. Great.
Hello, Mark and Blaine. How are you doing?
Hi. Good to see you.
Well, I've been busy editing my web series. I've got myself a goal of editing an episode a week.
Great.
So far, I have 2 episodes finished. Another 8 to go.
Great.
Also want to thank Jacob. I took up his offer to read screenplays. And he gave me great feedback on a TV pilot that I've developed, as well as a feature film that I wrote.
Great.
The feature films.
Great.
It's a great input for additional rewrites. And also want to say thank you to David for getting back to me, and look forward to seeing behind the scenes for Space Command.
Oh, yep. Yay.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, 3 cheers.
Yeah.
So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, there is. There's the ton, so we're good for a while. When directing actors, to what degree do you allow the actors to give their own interpretations of the characters versus what your interpretation is, especially if you have conflicting ideas?
Yes. Well, I mean, in the audition, you want to make sure that someone takes adjustments. So in other words, that if you don't think the angle of attack they give their first choice, if you're not happy with it, you give an adjustment. Or even if you are happy with it, you want to see if they can be collaborative. You never want to have an actor where you don't think what they're doing is working and they're not open to trying alternatives. That said, though, if an actor does a scene and it's what you had in mind, and they say, "Listen, I have another idea for this. Can we have another take?" It's always a good idea to give that actor the added take for their version, unless you're really losing the light or running out of time or whatever. But when you have a few, and if you can just say, "Yeah, let's go immediately" or whatever. Yeah, it's a very good idea.
Most actors who start to own their character really do get to know the character better than you.
Yes.
And generally speaking, the ideas are strong and very good. And so we both tend to welcome them. Every now and then, an actor who has a smaller role will try and run away with the piece.
Yes.
And they will be doing things that are really inappropriate for the arc of the entire series.
Right.
But in most cases, that's not true. They come up with an original idea. And as a director, if someone is supposed to feel like outrage, I don't care if they yell it. I don't care if they whisper it. If they're feeling it, if it's really in here, it doesn't matter. All I want is is that feeling to be communicated, however they can best do it. So although I may hear it in my head when I first write it, I give actors tremendous latitude. I just have to believe them.
That's great. Yeah. Yes. And now the one thing that really bugs me is if an actor doesn't do the lines. I mean, just kind of tries to riff on it or do an improv or something where they haven't learned their lines. It's very important that actors bring professionalism to the set. And, and if they're having trouble remembering the lines, that's a different thing. And then we can help them. But it's and if they think that they're better than the lines or better than the character, no. I mean, you can't come to this with arrogance including ourselves. You have to come with a collaborative spirit of creativity. But you always have a table read beforehand, and you say, do you have concerns with this, or are there problems, or are there questions? And then you can make revisions, but you only make revisions if they make the thing better. And so it's an ongoing creative dialogue between you and your actors. Absolutely. So okay, great. So Emily, I guess if you're there, Emily, if you want to unmute and take your turn. I don't know if you're there.
Hello, Emily. Are you there?
Hello.
There you go.
Hi. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Emily.
Hi. Yeah. For some reason, I still can't get the webcam settings on this thing to work, so I apologize if nobody can see me.
That's okay.
That's okay.
So I'm on week. I'm on week 3 of lockdown in Nevada right now, and I've actually had time to write. One of the things I've been working on is an article on the benefits of social distancing, in addition to some other work. And it's been a bit of a slow process because it's also allergy season, so I've had a few setbacks.
Yes.
But other than that, I've just been enjoying, participating on Zoom, because since I live out of state, I'm not at the table,
Yes.
On a regular basis. One question I do have is, do you have any recommendations where like I could send in like freelance work at all? Or
When you say freelance work, what do you mean, articles, or what do you mean?
Yeah, something like that.
That's tricky because the with the advent of the internet, a lot of magazines and so forth that used to pay well, anything that you write for the internet, like the web version of any magazine, they tend not to pay, or they pay really badly. It's challenging, and if everyone can mute their microphone, that'd be great, so that we don't get crosstalk. But I think Judith is. Yeah, Judith, you might want to mute your mic.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You were using to my cat?
Yeah. So if you can mute, there we go. Anyway, back to you, Emily. The thing is, there are magazine markets that still pay reasonably well, but it's the print magazines. The online stuff, I don't think pays well at all. So what you might do is there is the writer's market, which lists all the different magazines and what they pay per word. I have a friend who's a professional journalist, and he only writes for markets that pay $1 a word or more. So he writes for like Smithsonian and things like that. But it is a challenge. I wouldn't want to try to be a freelance, journalist at this stage. It's really a tough nut. But but I always view what I'm doing as either a way of creating the work itself, or alternatively, some things I do are for publicity, to spread the net. And the articles that I write are always just to spread the net and publicize what I'm up to. It's never to make a living doing that, because it's just
in my case, it's just to get my work seen by people.
Yeah. Well, then just there's seemingly an infinite number of websites and podcasts and so forth. I would start with the magazines that you like, and they all have like web components. So like, for instance, if you reach out to vanityfair.com, they might not be able to hire you to write an article for the magazine, but they have a voracious need for material online. And then you can be a stringer for any number of magazines. So I would just reach out to what you like and see what you can get going. I mean, I just I would start with the bigger ones and then work my way down.
Okay, thank you. Oh, my dad is also in here, so if you want to say a few words.
Looking for Howard.
Howard's not.
Howard Benjamin.
Howard Benjamin isn't on the table meeting right now, but if you contact us, we can get you in touch with him.
Yeah, well, I'll do that, Mark, because you gave me some very, very good advice. I just want to thank him for it.
Oh, sure. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I'll send you. Have him send you my email, and he can get back with me.
Great. Terrific.
I'm so happy that this is happening online now, because Emmy really wanted to come there more often. So
this is perfect.
This is a sad occasion where it had to happen, but she didn't be involved. And thank you so much for all the time that you spent with her.
We'll be in for next week too.
Great. Terrific. Well, 3 cheers. Yay. So Adam, do you have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, getting a little behind here on that, but so I'm going to combine a few here.
Sure.
Wade says, considering how the cell phone was imagined and shown in Star Trek before it was created,
yes,
do you think 3D printers are the first step towards Star Trek type synthesizers?
Sure, of course. I mean, we live in such an amazing science fiction world now. I mean, just what we're doing right now is so science fictional. I mean, there were so many movies going all the way back to Things to Come or Metropolis that had video calls and so forth, and here we are just blithely doing this, where people from all over the country are taking place in this meeting, and we don't think twice about it. So it's I think we live in an amazing time. And yeah, the thing I'm waiting for is time travel, but because I'd love to see dinosaurs, but in lieu of that, yes, 3D printers are amazing, and I think that will. I mean, the fact that they're using 3D printers to do surgical things like make skin for burn patients and all these amazing things, phenomenal. So we're living in a science fiction world, absolutely.
And a quick question from O.D. Dillon, who asks for the talent hunt.
Yes.
For the Space Command episode, does the actress have to be SAG?
No. Nope. Because we're doing this episode as a free episode to our audience. All of us are contributing our skills and our talents. So we're not going, no, we don't. Yeah, it's fine. You bet.
Okay.
Great. So now I guess David Bartlett, I guess you're next. David, do you want to?
David?
There you go. There he goes. Yeah. Hi.
Yeah, I've got some great news. So my name is David Bartlett. I am a filmmaker, a teacher, and a human rights activist, and the co-producer of Space Command.
Yay!
And there was great rejoicing. I also am the line producer and the head of physical production and the head of visual effects and a lot of other things.
Mm-hmm.
But my background is I started making films when I was 10 years old. I worked with a production designer at New World Pictures in 1980, whose name was Jim Cameron, who later became James Cameron, and had a great time with him with several interesting project performing films. They're all available on Blu-ray now. Actually, I happen to have them right here, which is a weird coincidence. These are the James Cameron films.
The early ones, yeah.
So let me see. I worked on a bunch of studio films after that for a number of years doing sound effects, and I worked on Pulp Fiction and Speed and Total Recall. And Nathan was over today, and I told a story about Danny DeVito on Hoffa.
Mm-hmm.
I worked on Hoffa with him, and he said I should mention more films that aren't the normal run-of-the-mill films
that
you would hear about. And that was one of them. It was a great experience.
Mm-hmm.
I then stopped doing that and started working on independent films, and I've now won over 64 Film Festival awards.
Great.
As a producer, director, writer, cinematographer, and editor.
Cool.
And I did a film called I Am the Flag, and it's starring Jimmy Weldon, who is the last surviving member of the Yogi Bear show. He was the Yucky Doodle Duck.
Huh.
And he stars in this little film, which is basically just a patriotic look at our country and the way it was founded, and is told from the point of view of the flag itself, which he then recites the story as if he were the flag. Well, it had about 4,000 views, which was nice, but it never really launched. And I started getting these little messages. Someone was saying, I love the film, and Semper Fi and all these things, which I'd gotten before. But then there was like one a week, then there was one every couple of days, and there were 2 in one day, then there was 4 in one day. So I logged on and had 134,000 views.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool.
Huh.
So I watched over the next 4 days, it went from 134,000 to 145,
wow,
275, and today it is 200,056 views.
Wow, wow, wow.
So if you guys want to check out this film and help me make it go even more viral, that would be awesome.
That's cool.
It's on YouTube. It's called I Am the Flag, starring Jimmy Weldon, and I'm very proud of it. I basically put a bunch of B-roll shots behind him on a green screen as he talks about and tells the story of being the flag. So I also found out today that another mutual friend of ours, has in his family a 4-star general who's retired. So I'm going to see just how far we can make this little guy go.
That's fun. That's great.
So I think it's because people are at home and they're kicking around, finding out what they can, and it's absolutely got nothing but a positive view online.
That's cool.
And it's a lot of fun.
Great.
So let me see. So I can also talk about, I seem to have been cast in the home version, as it were, of Space Command.
Yay.
So I play a role called Forey Hubbard, and I was speaking in the Greg Mazzy, played by Bill Mumy, was giving what Mark calls the TED Talk, which was him and Dora Nevin, where he's introduced. And I asked a very important question of one line, which Elaine and Mark directed me, and it was very fun. And now they've written a scene. I should probably not spoil the scene.
No, don't. Yeah. We'll air it when it comes out. But let's
air it when it comes out.
Let's just put it this way: it'll probably be the scene. If we can pull this off, it'll be the scene probably that everyone will be talking about in that episode. It's
It's
and
true.
and the only thing I'll say, and I won't elaborate. David is in the scene, and the other people in the scene. Well, I shouldn't say the other people. Let's put it this way. Let's say that David's scene is with others who are naked. Okay. so beyond that, we won't reveal anything. Okay.
No, that'll definitely get him to watch.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be quite something. Yes.
So anyway, with that said,
yes.
Back to Space Command.
Yeah.
So there are opportunities at Space Command to work on it in a paid capacity when we get back into production.
Yes.
And also in a volunteer capacity, and also in a volunteer capacity now. We are doing fulfillment of our brand new campaign that got finished. Adam and I are spearheading that. Adam is diligently putting in every single person in the database, and then I'm able to send out whatever we need to at that point. Just gave me a thumbs up. And that's going to happen right now. And we're also fulfilling things from the past, which we're running the corner on and doing great guns on that.
Cool.
We just got 500 comic books.
Yay.
Granted. So we can now start sending those out as well. And if you're interested, you can email me at davefilms@hotmail.com, DAVEFILMS @hotmail.com, and or talk to any number of people that are table folks that know me, which is like most of them. And Tom Katzis isn't on today, so I get to say I'm the oldest table member at this meeting.
Yay.
The longest running, 25 years now. And it's been very interesting and really cool, and Mark and Elaine are the best. And it's just great that they keep putting this here for us year after year.
Yes.
It's really worthwhile.
Yay. Well, thank you, David. Yay, David Bartlett. So is there another question, another Space Command question from Adam? Adam?
Yeah, let's see. A quick one from Zach, who asks, how do you get story ideas?
Well, from everywhere, from everything. I mean, it can be from your family, your friends, something you see when you're walking, a movie, a TV show, a book. It's all jumbled up in your head. And then, but the trick is to come up with something you haven't seen before, to somehow synthesize all that into something fresh. That's always the trick, and to have it be emotionally truthful. But it's you know, it's usually not one thing. It's usually a whole bunch of stuff, and then you just kind of shape it like a sculptor.
You want to have it be something. Once you get an initial idea, you really want it to be something on which you have some sort of an insight or personal experience.
Yeah.
Where you say,
you know what you're talking about.
Well, you know what you're talking about, but also to say, it's like if there's a problem or a challenge of saying, I was really messed up with that, but then I found a really good way. So you're sharing something in terms of personal experience, and it's not just sort of blandly talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how we do it. So let's see. Looking at who. I guess it's Paul Dove. Paul, you want to take your turn? Go for it. There, great.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Elaine.
Hi.
I must apologize. I always forget to say hello to Elaine every time.
Hello.
Do apologize. Right. I think it was Jacob before said we should have these meetings once a month on when things go back to normal.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a brilliant idea because I'm in the UK. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. Jesus.
So it's good evening to you and good morning from me.
Yes.
But these have been brilliant because I was getting to a point where I was getting fed up with the industry and things like that. So this sort of lockdown has made me think, and talking about the meetings and everything else has made me re-look at the way I do things.
Yes.
Because I'm an actor, I'm an agent, so I'm going back to basics on the agency. I've actually been talking to Susan over the last couple of days. She's looking for another agent, so I'm going back and I'm making my agency bigger.
Great.
Going back to the way it was when I first started. So there'll be cameramen, there'll be everyone else involved, script writers. So it's a one-stop shop.
Great. That's great.
So hello.
April. Yeah. And
Hello,
April.
I was on video or not. Hi.
Yeah. But so if you can, April, if you can mute your mic for now, because when people have their turns, they unmute the mic. So, but go ahead, Paul, please.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not too technically brilliant here, and I don't see the. There it is.
There you go. You did it.
Great.
You learned a new thing.
Yes,
Excellent.
So I'm really excited for the future because, as everyone says, this is the time now to take charge of your own destiny.
Yes. Yes.
Now, can I just go back to something you were talking about before about Space Command?
Yes.
The actors.
Yes.
Now, if I go to an audition, whether it's a proper audition or just over a cup of coffee, I always ask the director, what is their vision of the character?
Yes.
Right.
Otherwise, I could be doing it 1,000 different ways, and it's not what the director wants.
Yes.
And that's always the best way as an actor, I think.
Yes, yes. And one thing Elaine does is she'll say to her actors, what's the best thing you've ever, how do you phrase it, Elaine? It's what's the worst thing and what's the best thing?
In terms of directors, I always say, what was
to the actor?
To the actor, what was the worst thing a director ever did with you, and what is the best thing that a director ever
in terms of how they worked with you.
They worked with
yes,
you.
Yes.
And so what was the best thing that a director ever did? What was the worst thing a director ever did?
Yeah.
And that becomes very informative, in terms of their process.
Yeah. I always find if you've got that nice dialogue at the beginning, if you're doing a scene and it doesn't fit in with your personality or whatever, you can say, do the way they want it, and they say, do you mind if we just try it this way? And it might just be the way he works.
Yes.
The way it works right.
No, it's extremely important, and that's why I really hate self-tapes, because multiple times an actor would come in, a good actor would come in with an interpretation, and I would say, can you just do this? And they would turn on a dime, and they would get the role.
Yes.
With that one note, they would get the role, because they could turn on a dime and really own it. So I would never use self-tapes, because then you can't have that little magic.
Yeah, except for the talent search we're doing.
Well,
but then,
with the talent
but then we can have callbacks and so
but
forth.
then with callbacks, you really start to hone it down.
Exactly. Yes. So
I think the way auditions are going to go in the future is via links like this.
Yes, I think that's very probable. Yeah.
For me to go from Liverpool to Los Angeles, I can probably get there for about £300 or £400. If I go from Liverpool to London, which is only 200 miles down the road, it's minimum of £300 on the train.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Well,
I did an audition in Barcelona. I flew there, hired a car, hotel, and I did it for less than £100.
Well, yeah, there you go. There's the lesson. So yeah. Well, anything else, Paul?
No, I'm going to love you and leave you. I'll see you next week.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us.
You bet.
For joining
3 cheers.
Yay.
So now, bye.
Good night.
So,
Good night.
So another question for Mr. Sci-Fi, Adam?
Yeah. Wade asks, what would be your advice for someone just starting out as a writer when looking around at people like you who make it look easier than it is?
Yeah, it's just it depends on what genre you're writing. If you're writing science fiction, go to science fiction conventions and meet your favorite writers and talk to them and meet the editors and the book agents and, the World Science Fiction Convention, the World Fantasy Convention. I mean, again, my career took off simply because of the people I admired who I then met at conventions such as Theodore Sturgeon and George Clayton Johnson and Richard Matheson and on, Harlan Ellison, Ray Bradbury. Learn from people who know what they're doing, and so usually your heroes, you'll find that often they're very nice, and if you just follow through on what you're doing and actually write and finish what you're writing, they'll be happy to mentor you, and that's what I would say.
And there's one thing that's counterintuitive, which is you see a writer sitting alone in a room, and writing away.
Yes.
But that is not appropriate, because what writing is communication. And you have to find a way in which other people are going to be able to tell you whether or not you're communicating what you're hoping to communicate. That could be done with classes. That could be done with groups.
Right.
That could be done with readings. But the main thing is you get feedback from other professionals, even with small pieces. And it's often good to start with smaller pieces, so that you really know if what's in your head is getting out to the people that you want to reach.
Yeah. But also two other things. You must write on a regular basis. You must either write a certain number of hours per day or a certain number of pages per week or whatever. But it's the doing of it that's the most important. And it's also never look at a single script or a single book or a single short story or a single TV script, anything, pilot, as what you're pinning your hopes on. It's the body of work, and if you're doing it right, you get better as you go. So never worry about it being like, oh God, this one project has to sell or get made, or I'm not a writer. No, but also write your truth right from the heart. Don't just follow other people's cliches and do them worse than they do. That's a big part of it.
And don't get your shoelaces tied together with perfectionism.
No.
Because we always start with the shitty first draft.
Well, yeah.
And then you start
Not
rewriting
always.
and honing it and
Yeah.
honing it. Sometimes you get the great line, but
Yeah.
often you have to eliminate
Sometimes
it.
it's great the first time out of the gate, but that's rare.
I've never had that.
Oh,
happen.
I've had that happen pretty much always. So okay. so continuing on, let's see who's Mark Gushwitz. I guess it's you. Go for it. There you
Can
go.
you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to try and look at the camera because everybody, when I deal with clients and all that, they're always asking me why I'm looking up.
Yes.
Because my camera's underneath the camera. Computer.
That's
so
funny.
I've got you guys placed right above the camera, so hopefully it'll come off.
Great.
Anyway, my name is Mark. I am an editor. Like most people, not working a lot right now, although somebody that Nathan actually introduced me to is sending some work my way. It won't be a lot of money, but at least it's something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of nice. Mainly, I've been just sending my short out officially to get reactions, which have been a little too good. I was hoping to get some people to kind of rip into it so I could make changes, but even the people that I trust more than anybody else in the world to do that have been telling me it's really good.
That's
so
great.
That makes me feel better.
Yes.
If anybody was here the day after or the week after I shot, I was really not in a good mood because I thought I had shot mess.
Mm-hmm.
And hand out a cut and get all these really positive responses. I'm really, really happy with that.
Great.
Congratulations.
Excuse me?
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then I've also been dipping in and like adding my own effects to it because every time I bring that up here that I'm going to hire someone, people like Dave Edison and Robert Amico are like, well, why don't you just do it yourself? And so I'm sitting here alone in my office most of the day, and I just figured, hey, why not give it a shot? And
sure.
So some of those are coming out pretty good. Some of them not so good, but we'll get there. I had an interesting thing happen to me the other day, and I'm hoping that I reacted to it properly. I've been working with this filmmaker for about 2.5 years on a short. And that seems like an awful lot of time, but because of the situation, she's been trying to earn money for special effects. And so we actually, in the time period we've been working on this short, we've actually edited another, made a whole other film. So she's just been getting frustrated with this short. So she asked me to cut a trailer for her. And it's got a lot of special effects and everything. That's why she's trying to get money. And I cut together this trailer, which everybody is really loving. And she had no input on the trailer whatsoever by choice on her. So now she comes to me and says, you know, I want you to take your own shot at this short film and put something together because I really like your instincts when you went off on your own on the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And I jokingly said to her, well, am I going to get co-directing credit? And she called me back the next day and said, if you can really pull this off because I don't know what to do with it anymore, then I'll give you directing credit.
Whoa.
That's great.
And the thing is I think I can pull something off. It's going to rely on the special effects and everything.
Yeah.
I told her we have to go more like a sci-fi movie kind of thing as opposed to some character. Because the whole entire thing was that she had a director. He walked off the project 2 days before they shot.
Wow.
So she took over the directing reins and she didn't want to direct.
Wow.
That's why it became kind of a mess because she had no vision.
Right.
So what I told her, tell me if I reacted right, because I told her that I'm more than happy to do it. My whole thinking in the back of my head is, this thing's a mess. I may not want directing credit when it's done. It may be not fixable.
Well.
So what I told her is I didn't want to take her credit away from her, but let me see what I can do. And if it turns into my film, then I'd be more than happy to take it.
Okay, sure.
She's still going to keep the producing credit, which is what she wants anyway. She
Great.
wants to be a producer.
Great.
And I just hoping that I didn't insult her or anything. She seemed pretty happy with it.
No. If you can make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, absolutely. I mean, again, it's better to be a producer on a film that works than a producer and director on one that doesn't.
Right. Well, and the thing is like, it's a more commercial film. It's got a lot of special effects and everything in it that I don't have to pay for now.
Yes.
And I think that I can actually, if I can concentrate a little bit more on the characters a little bit, but really concentrate on how the special effects shots that she's gotten work within, just create a really great action scene in this short.
Yes.
It'll actually be pretty good, and I might want that directing credit.
That's great. Yeah.
So
I think you handled it well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping, and this is like I said, we worked on 2 projects together, so we got a pretty good relationship. I just didn't want to insult her or anything by saying, "Yeah, give me your credit."
No, that's great. That's fine. No, so anything else, Mark?
I do. I have a question that I think a lot of people might be curious about, and that is, while we're doing all this stuff over Zoom, is it okay for us to invite new members in? Because I don't think we've experienced that yet.
To a certain degree, but obviously don't invite 100 of your friends. But like, someone,
if they have the right spirit,
the trick with all of this, as we live in the new paradigm, is to, like, for instance, right now we got 27 people. Earlier we had 33. I mean, we want to be able to make sure everyone gets a turn of an evening, just like the real table, the in-person one. But yeah, if you have someone you think would be a good addition, sure, yeah, absolutely.
As long as they promise not to draw certain symbols or yell out obscenities during the meeting.
Yes. Last time we had some trolls invade and we had to get rid of them. But
this was just one of the actresses in my my short film that I really got along with. I really liked. She was really great. She was really fun to work with. I've been trying to get her to join since then, but she's been really busy.
Yeah.
But now that we're kind of just sitting around the house, I'm thinking it might be easier to get her involved.
Sure, of course. That'll be fine. You bet. Okay. You bet. Okay, great.
I'm going to be talking to her tomorrow, so I'll throw it out to her.
Thanks.
Yay.
So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. Let's see here. Oh, I had it. Hold on. Mark Lungo asks, is there any chance that more of the Space Command actors could participate? I think he's talking about like the investor sessions or stuff like that.
It's an idea. Yeah, I can talk to some of our actors and see if they'd be open to doing that. Yeah, sure. You bet.
And then Christiana Vergona asks if you got her email. She wants to send you a piece of her uncle's artwork.
I got an email asking about whether the money she put into the premiere of at Grauman's at the Chinese Theater had been taken out of the GoFundMe account yet. But I didn't see that other email that she's referencing, so I'll have to look for it. But I welcome anything. Yeah, of course. Eager to see her uncle's artwork. You bet. So let's go to the next person. Tad, how about you, Tad? If you want to unmute and go for it. There you go. Oh, you had it for a second. There. Yeah.
Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. Now, since last week, nothing much has happened. But I would like to report that 2 people here in the group responded to my ad on the table, asking for.
Wow. Whoa. Something fell. Okay. So that's okay. Go for it.
It's Judith's pet.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, no pets. Yeah. Just a little guy.
A little guy. Okay, go for it.
Little guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And I have that was the word road writers.
Yes, that was mentioned earlier.
Writers tonight. Someone mentioned, and I have joined that group.
Oh, good.
And advised by those 2 members of the table, and and I have to say that
I'm good.
Okay.
Oh, that was you.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know what that was. So go ahead. Please keep going.
Okay. I just wanted to report that. The experience so far has been good,
good.
And they seem to care about everybody pretty much, and they seem to work very hard to make everybody happy. And so, but there's one stupid thing that I have to ask. I haven't asked that, but the program that I do have taken is query prep. And in my situation, since I speak with an accent, I just wonder if you have any support or any warnings to me about going into the business with shamelessly with speaking with an accent.
Well, you have to make sure that if you have an accent, that the script not have any flaws in the English, that it seemed like if you have a character who's an American, they have to read like an American. If the shot descriptions have to be perfect. So it's very important before you submit a script to be sold that you have someone read it, or several people read it and just go through it with a fine-tooth comb to just make sure that there's nothing that pops. Because I've read a number of screenplays written by people where English was not their first language, or in some cases it didn't read like it was their language at all, and there were like these strange phrases and this very stilted dialogue, and that really impeded my ability to appreciate the strengths of the script. So yeah, it's very important that you make sure. But in terms of how you speak, no, that's irrelevant. If you're being considered as a writer, it's what you do on the page. And that obviously, if you're an actor, that's different. If you're an actor, you want to be able to speak English with great facility. But no, writers, it doesn't matter at all.
The interesting thing is that actually I have also performed as an actor. Some people just need this accent.
Yes.
That's funny.
No, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because there is a history of writers who were very, very well in English, and English was not their first language. Joseph Conrad, of course, I think he was Polish, and he wrote in English, and he was brilliant at it. So
MOS.
What?
MOS. Mid-out sound.
Mid-out sound. Yeah. That's different. But okay. So anything else, Tab?
That's it. Thank you so much.
Great. Yay. So I guess DRSK lover, Dursk lover. Go for it. If you can unmute, and it's your turn. Yeah. Oh. No. Can you unmute?
Can you unmute?
Unmute your mic, I guess. There you go. Go for it.
Okay, there you
go. Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you guys.
Hi.
I'm with the New York table.
Great.
But I live in LA and I go out there often.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a singer-songwriter and an actress and a psychotherapist. That's how I make my money mostly.
Cool.
And do a lot of stuff for artists in the entertainment business right now.
Great.
Especially.
Yeah.
So I released a music video called Invisible Me recently. I did a musical off-Broadway called Mother Me Therapy, combining my experience as a therapist, and I was in it. I played a ghost that haunts the therapist about how to do therapy with her teenage daughter. And I want to bring it to LA because I feel that there'd be a better chance for it, because I think it's a really great story in itself. Or to be done at a small theater there. So that's something that if anybody has any connections that way to do something like that, I would love to.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely get it onto the LA
table email.
Onto the table email, because yes, there are a lot of people who know about the little theaters.
About theater and because there's a Fringe Festival here every year, and a lot of people know the different theatrical venues that are here. So
I was just gonna say, I've done the Fringe Festival back in 2018 , so and there's also a New York Fringe as well that you should be able to get into.
As well.
Yeah.
I just feel that it would be a great story for a film, so I feel like people in LA could see it.
Sure.
I think it could be translated into
Great.
something like that.
That sounds great.
I worked in film music in LA for many years. I'm trying to, do more work on the West Coast. So, anybody looking for, my music is, it's lisasklover.com. So if you just look on Apple or Spotify, you would hear some of it. So I'm just trying to offer composing for film or TV projects that anybody is looking for. And I'd love to continue to be a part of your LA group because you guys are fun.
Thanks. Well, we try our best. Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. It's again, we founded the table 27 years ago, and all the offshoots of the table have sprung from that. And again, it was to create a compassionate community in Hollywood, because there's a dark side to Hollywood, and a lot of people get their hopes and their dreams crushed needlessly. And so we wanted to be a counterweight to that. So, and it's worked.
I wish I was part of it when I was out there for many years, but I do come out like every other month for music. So I'd like to join you when
Of course. Yeah. Of course, you'd be more than welcome. So 3 cheers for you. Yay. So, Adam, do you have another Mr. Sci-Fi query?
Hold on, sorry.
Look out.
I was typing a thing in the chat.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, Man Beetle says a non-pro question here.
Sure. Yeah.
What do you think of Richard Stanley and Color Out of Space? If you get a chance, watch his interview with the two ladies on Collider.
I haven't seen Color Out of Space yet. Is that I think it's the Nicolas Cage one he's talking about. Richard Stanley, if I'm thinking of the right director, the one who did Island of Dr. Moreau and so forth. He's not one of my favorite directors, but I love Lovecraft, so I can check it out and then I'll have an opinion. And I try not to have opinions before I actually look at something. You'll be amazed at how many people seem to have opinions based on nothing other than I think you owe it, if you're going to have an opinion on something, you really owe it to the artist to actually view the thing itself, to look at the film or the TV show or read the book before you start opining. And it's amazing how many people don't believe that, and they'll have all sorts of opinions without actually knowing what they're talking about. So yeah, that's my answer. So now I guess Beta, it's your turn. Go for it. If you want to turn off the
Hello.
Hi. Good to see you.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Bita Arefnia. I'm an actress. I'm also David Bartlett's assistant as of 3 weeks now. Time flies. It's been great, other than coronavirus.
Yes.
There hasn't been much acting, obviously, and I haven't really submitted a lot or anything. I've done like fun stuff for now because I just needed that more than anything else. So I've done a little YouTube video with my roommates, which is called Dumb Things to Do While in Quarantine. I'll link it after I'm done. And I also participated very last minute in a 48-hour film festival. And it was my friend hitting me up at 8 p.m. on a couple days ago. And he was like, I'm in a time crunch. The other person dropped out. I need you to do this. And I was like, okay, sure. And it was great. And I just saw it too, because he just sent it to me. And he's still like gonna work on it, but he submitted it, and I might link that as well. I actually like the way it turned out, mostly his part, because I did it very messily last minute on my phone, and he had like better equipment doing it. So like we'll see. But it looks good as far as I see it. Trying to keep busy doing things right now. It's just everything is so slow, and I'm keeping occupied with Space Command stuff, so that's fun. It's
Great.
fun for me.
Cool.
Came as a good time. But yeah, any acting jobs for me, holla. No.
Great. So is there anything else or any questions beyond that?
Not specifically for today.
Okay.
Do you have, by the way,
my roommate who's out of town right now, when she comes back, she had some questions, and I'll bring her on maybe with me.
Sure. And Elaine had a question.
Do you have a reel which shows your best work?
I do. I do have a reel.
Yeah.
And I'll link that too.
Okay, great.
I have it on Backstage, I think. I have to upload it still on YouTube and make that a thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have it.
That's great, Beta.
Mark,
Okay.
can I
Yes.
jump in for a second?
Yes, David.
So Beta's been great.
Thank you.
Anyone that would have her on her film or on her project or involved would be lucky to be there, and I would be love to get even a break from her so that she could do that project. But I would allow it because she's well worth all of the effort and all the wonderful creativity she brings.
That's great.
Thanks.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Well, thank you. Thanks for
testimonial.
Thanks for putting in the effort on our behalf, Beta. We really appreciate it. So thank you so much. Yay!
High praise.
High praise. So Adam, do you want to? Is there another Mr. Sci-Fi? Inquiry?
OD Dylan asks, have you ever considered editing in a voiceover? This is talking about the scene in Space Command where the ship is taking off and the Kemmers are watching the ship take off. Have you considered editing in a voiceover of one of the parents watching the ship taking off, saying something poignant to like, ride that candle, son?
No, because for me, particularly Mike Harney's expression is so, he's really rooting for his son. He loves his son. You see it in that moment. We're giving Mike some really juicy material, both in the prequel the audio play and graphic novel, and also in the Kindred. In Ripple Effect, the script we're shooting now, he has a monologue that's just spectacular. So
I've read it; it's really good.
Yeah,
So-
I wrote that one, so I can praise myself. And
And you have to know when not to say anything. I love the Mark Twain line that it's a terrible death to be talked to death.
Yeah. Though, something that I hate is obvious stuff. Like if you were looking up and you have the voiceover, there goes the ship heading up into outer space. You know, I mean, it's amazing how many movies and TV shows. Well, the best example of that ever was that terrible narration in the original Blade Runner, where it's like, you know, I'm a cop, and whatever. You know, I mean, all the lines that they took out in the later editions. Thank God, because it was just leaden and horrible. So, but also sometimes voiceover can be terrific. I've seen very good examples of it. So yeah, absolutely. So let's see. It's I know Michael Tabb's been sitting here for a while. Should we do Michael Tabb and then we'll go to Bonnie?
Okay.
Yeah, Michael, go for it.
Hi, everybody. How you doing tonight? I'm Michael Tabb. I'm a screenwriter and author of the book Pre-Writing Your Screenplay, a step-by-step guide to generating stories.
Oh, great.
And I don't necessarily want anything. I just love filmmakers, and we're all in a struggle together, and I think it's nice to show up.
Yes.
And just give you an audience, and if I hear something that I feel that I could do to help,
sure.
Oh, great.
I'm happy that I'm here to do it.
That's great.
So,
cool.
All of you, I wish you all so much more than luck.
Thanks.
I wish you accomplishment.
Thank you, Michael. And just
of your
and I want to jump in on this from Michael Tabb is actually a professional screenwriter who makes his living writing scripts that people actually pay money for. So he is a man among men. And I think you came in a little later, Michael. So we've written a Space Command episode that we're doing entirely with our actors shooting their own scenes in their own homes as the characters. Yeah, so we wanted to use this time well. But meanwhile, because we raised $57,000 on Kickstarter during the pandemic, we're able to keep our studio open. We're able to keep visual effect shots being generated, prop sets being built, creatures being made, all with our team staying primarily at their own homes. You know, we're having everyone stay safe, but we're ramping up. If anything, we've gotten more busy since the pandemic, and our director of development's in England, so she's actually setting up Zoom meetings with BBC and submitting material, and Amazon and CW are actively considering Magic Time and Space Command and all these projects of ours now. So it's pretty crazy.
Huge congratulations first.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised at all.
Yes, exactly.
As
But
it should be.
yes, but
As it should be, Mark.
but I-
You
but I-
work so damn hard.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. But the thing is, for me, I see this as opportunity. And as long as we stay safe, as long as we survive and don't die of the coronavirus, you know, this is not the moment to sit back and say, well, you know, I never saw all of the episodes of Run for Your Life, so I think I'll, check that stuff out. Ben Gazzara has always been a good actor. You know, it's like, no, this is the time to actually say, okay, what can I make happen? What can I, do? I mean, all of us are creative artists and even actors. One can be imaginative and make amazing things happen. And so I remember
It's so hard because we get so easily distracted.
That's right. But I remember one thing when I was a teenager. One of my favorite writers and one of my heroes and mentors was Harlan Ellison. He was a very temperamental man, but a brilliant man. But what he did to get over his own, I guess, writer's block, or to do something that would force him to write, is he started writing short stories in windows of bookstores, all here and in New York and in Paris. And what he would do is he would have the audience choose a title, and then he would sit in the window and type an entire short story in one sitting. And as he finished each page, it would be posted on the wall of the bookstore, so people would walk through the bookstore and read the story. And he wrote a ton of stories that way. And that was a guy who was okay. He was going to get around his own roadblocks. He was going to make stuff happen. And it was great publicity, of course, but it was also his way to say, in front of an audience, he could not fail. He could not say, well, I didn't get any ideas, so I'm going to go off and come up with it later. He had to pull it off, and that was
Most
really
important thing is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Is everybody? Some people say, "Do what I say, not what I do."
Yes.
Do what Mark. Do what he does. You don't have to just listen to what he says. Do what he's doing.
Yes, exactly.
Pick up a camera and go to work.
Yes. Well, again, yeah.
writers are used. I'm a writer. I don't know how many people here are writers, but a lot of people are used to waiting for somebody to give them a job.
Right.
You can't freaking do that.
No.
You
No.
can't, and there's no reason to anymore. Everything is so cheap.
Yes.
From editing software to anything, and you'll find somebody who will work on it for peanuts.
Yes.
Because they also want to do what you're doing, which is making something happen.
Yes. Yes. And it's so
And
fun.
you're doing it not for peanuts.
No.
You're raising money,
Yes.
making it happen, and seeing your dream projects get made because you are making it.
That's right.
You are starting a Kickstarter. You are promoting it to everybody you know and people you don't.
Yes.
And they show up and they give money because they want to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
And guys, everybody wants to see what you're doing. We want constant new creative input in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Michael. Yay. Free cheers. So I guess, Bonnie, I guess you're next.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
I never expected to hear you tonight quote a Gilbert Gottfried line.
Really? Okay.
Do you even know
If anyone wants a Gilbert Gottfried line,
now stop that. Gilbert did a bit in the 80s about being in the middle of a field and the ship lands and little aliens come out and gather around them. And, Gilbert builds it and builds it and builds it. And one of them, the leader, looked up at me and said, Ben Gazzara is a good actor. Why can't he get a series?
That's great. That's a great joke. That's a great joke. So, Bonnie, go for it.
Okay, I'm Bonnie Chomsky and a composer, songwriter. And this week it's looking like a film is going to get, there's a good chance that a film that's wanted to raise money, looks like they may have it, and maybe actually bigger budget than they'd hoped. So
That's
I'm
great.
hoping that will come through. That's through somebody that I've known for many, 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 many years. And hooked him up with this filmmaker, writer, director, tap dancer extraordinaire.
That's great.
So this person always does film musicals. So this one again will be a film musical.
Huh.
Wow.
So there's that, and it's funny. The first 2 weeks, it was kind of like, I don't know, just sort of in a strange space of getting used to the surreal, unusual times we're in. But I've been becoming more. Getting more done now. I did a fun thing the other day. A friend of mine did a really great gospel arrangement of America the Beautiful, and just asked all his friends to sing on it. I mean, he has been a choir and all that, but he did that, and that was just, it was just kind of fun and creative, and of course I'm used to recording, but he said, "Oh, send the video," so that was different. So
That's cool.
Anyway, I'll be part of that. So today I was thinking, contemplative, because it's mind-boggling. 40 years ago today, I was a guest on The Tonight Show.
Wow. Yeah.
And I had an all-women big band at the time.
Huh. Wow.
And there was a local jazz club called Dante's, and some guy came up to us and said, I won't tell you who I am, but you have a cassette of your band? And turned out Johnny Carson, was an amateur drummer and loved jazz. So it's just mind-boggling that it was so long ago.
Huh.
And then a few months later, I did a big band weekend with my own band opposite Count Basie, Woody Herman, Harry James, and Bader Ferguson.
Wow.
So through the years, I don't know if I've had a big band, but the last couple of years, I kept saying I want to do that, and today I'm saying, okay, I can sit and write a ton of big band charts now. So,
Yes. Great.
That's what I do really want to do. That I want to go back to having a big band, and the first one was all women, but then I had co-ed bands. And,
yeah.
I love that. So that was the very first writing I ever did was big band writing.
Yeah. We'll do it.
If you need a tuba.
Yeah.
Adam, that's right.
Adam plays tuba.
Right.
Yeah, it's because jazz. What's jazz without tubas? And so
what's life without?
Yeah,
tubas?
really. So anything else, Bonnie? Anything else you need?
Just if anyone needs music, I see there are a couple other singer-songwriters or something on here, and just connecting.
Great, and again, the best way for them to see samples of your work would be.
Oh yes, my website. I can put that in the chat.
Great,
very
great,
good.
Great.
Okay, lovely.
Terrific. So great. Well, 3 cheers, Bonnie. Yay. So So another Mr. Sci, another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam.
Yes. Zach asks, how do you feel about morally gray characters? These characters seem to be getting popular, such as in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I have a problem. Well, let's put it this way. I like shows like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I mean, they're great shows. But for myself, I like to write characters who are moral, and it's not that they have a rod up their ass, it's that they actually have empathy for others and act in a compassionate way and understand that their actions have a ripple effect in the world. And so it's just the kind of characters I like writing, kind of characters I like watching in general. And I think those are the characters that tend to be the ones that you most return to. I mean, the fact that Star Trek is still being watched all these decades later, the fact that, science fiction is so great for that. There's so many great characters in science fiction, like Ripley. I mean, Ripley is so terrific in Aliens. The fact that she forms this bond with this child that she's just not going to abandon is spectacular. And I think people can go back again and again to it. Whereas I think if something is really, really dark, how many times are you going to want to watch those episodes? I don't know. And Game of Thrones just screwed the last season. I mean, the ending of Game of Thrones was such a miss. By the way, anyone wants to see my solution to Game of Thrones, we did a video on Mr. Sci-Fi after that terrible ending to Game of Thrones where Elaine and I kind of figured out this is how it should have worked. And we laid out the entire solution to that problem. And it's really fun to see how we would have done it. But yeah, absolutely. So I guess William Garcia, you're next. Go for it. There we go. Yeah.
Well, hi everyone. I'm William Garcia, and I'm a producer, executive producer based out of Los Angeles. I've been a table member for, it's been probably about 15 years or so. I started in Miami, moved to Los Angeles about 5 years ago or so. I produce everything from independent feature films, television series. I started as a director of photography in the union, shooting music videos down in Miami, and also commercials a lot for Latin America and also the US, all those exciting Shakira Visa commercials and Cisco's Thong Song were some of my projects that I did for MTV making the video, and that's how I started in the business. This has been an interesting time for me. I've actually been on lockdown because I was sick the first week of March when I got back from the Mammoth Film Festival. So I was in and out of flu-like symptoms. So for me, it's been, I think I'm on day number 36 or something like that. So it's been insane, stuck in here. But I've been very busy. My experience, I know everyone has a little bit of experience, but I've been communicating quite a bit with agents, talent agents, both below the line crew and obviously talent. Everything slowed down, but I got to tell you, it's been a lot easier to communicate with them. Especially, I have a feature film called Tension. We were just about to start pre-production and then had to, shut everything down. But we're still moving forward. There's still development going on.
Yes.
There's still communication between, for example, our director, Darren Lynn Bozeman. He was kind of very upset. His feature film, Spiral, was about to get released by Lionsgate I think it was May. Now that's on limbo.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know. They have no idea when they're going to release this movie. And how that affects our film is that Darren is shooting our feature next. So I need him for at least, 20 weeks.
Yeah.
From prep all the way to post-production. So we're planning on moving forward as soon as possible with Tension, with this feature. Hopefully, I'm guessing June, July, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I hope, if everything is lifted. But working now in this Zoom world, video conferencing, I don't know. It's actually been great.
Yeah.
I never thought I would be able to get a hold of Jerry Katzenberg, and I was able to get a hold of him.
Wow,
And
that's
it wasn't
great.
for me, but for the chairman of our company.
Yes.
And I was like, wait a minute, did he just email me back? And then I put them two together.
Wow.
I was like blown away.
Yeah.
You know, because usually they're so busy running around.
Yes.
But again, it's been fascinating. Developments moving forward. We're right now talking to Julie Pacino to direct another one of our feature film projects. So that's very, very exciting. She just finished directing a couple of short films. Her dad's very famous, which is Al Pacino, but her shorts are like amazing, and we're really excited about talking with her about a next project. So we're talking that. And then I've been entertaining these Zoom meetings I do it like 2 or 3 a week. I might have to scale them back, but I mean, Paul Brett reached out. He heard that I was doing these events, and I was blown away that Paul, who does these really big films, you know, like The King's Speed Chef. He has 2 television series on the BBC. You know, his films have won Academy Award. He's actually letting me, you know, to give out his email to the people that attended the event.
Wow.
That to
That's
me
great.
was insane.
That's great.
Because, you know, for Paul to go to me and say, no, go ahead, share the guests that are here, which I was surprised, you know, there were quite a lot of people, but I was just amazed of how some of the filmmakers out there, producers, executives, are a little bit more open now with what's going on. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that people are, and again, this is why it's a very important thing to really take stock and say, okay, who are the writers and directors and producers and actors whose work I love? Now, I mean, be realistic. Don't say, okay, Brad Pitt or Spielberg. I mean, you know, but if it's like those people slightly below that, I mean, well, Katzenberg's a big name, of course, but you know, try to reach out to people, try and make some inroads. I mean, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I would seize it because everyone is stuck at home. You know, no one is living their life the way they were a few weeks ago, and this will not last for more than a month or two. You know, and so now is the moment. Now is the moment, and I think we should all be extremely proactive. I don't think we should step back at all from that, because everyone is like learning Zoom and learning how to do it and how to make it work. And, you know, some people are a little above the, you know, ahead of the curve. You know, I have my Mr. Sci-Fi channel, which has been great. But, you know, yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to. But one has to view this as a job. You know, it's like Elaine and I get up in the morning and work all day long, and sometimes into the evening on our job. We're writing. We're writer, director, producers, and we're, you know, and we work minimally 5 days a week, usually 6 and sometimes 7. And we're fueled by enthusiasm and passion. But again, I don't see this as any, it's not we're not in elementary school and suddenly it's summer vacation, you know. And so, you know, and I don't think that we have to drive ourselves crazy, no, but I think that if you're really committed to what you're doing, you have possibilities here and now that are not going to exist after this is over. So I would absolutely be very, very specific and direct. Absolutely. So
yeah, absolutely, it's great. And I mean, I have sales agents that have reached out that you know, want to share their thoughts and spend some time you know, in these meetings and stuff. So and also entertainment attorney. That can answer Q&A. I mean, just things like that. So it's been great. I've been busy. So I'll continue. I'm going to probably scale back, you know, the meetings and stuff, but I'll be posting and sending emails.
That's great.
On the table of who's attending, if anybody wants to join and stuff. And,
great.
No, I've been having a great time, and hopefully this will end soon, though.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, 3 cheers, William. Yay. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam, if there is one.
Yeah, we've got. I think we've got like 3 more. Wade asks, I've been wondering, how is the virus affecting the production of television shows and movies?
It's stopped
Should I be worried about a lull coming?
Yes, well, there's a lull now. I mean, they basically stopped production. I mean, we just decided to do a Space Command Space Command episode with our actors shooting their own scenes in their own homes, but all production in the way it's normally done has stopped, as far as I know. I also have the idea, since Rock and I are writing Sweet Haven, to maybe do a table read with our actors via Zoom, but there's nobody in the right mind would say, okay, let's pull together 100 people and shoot a short or a pilot or a feature or a TV show. That's all under lock and key now. It has to be. And because no one with any sense of responsibility would want, their actors or their crew to die from a movie or a TV show. It's not appropriate, obviously. And so no, it's stopped. It's totally stopped. So yeah. So I guess April, you're up. Go for it. Oh wait, what are you doing? No, he's already had start.
Oh, yeah.
April, unmute your mic. Yeah, let's see if you can do it. She's trying. Are you getting it?
There it is.
There you go. Go for it. Yeah.
Okay. Now I can't see myself.
No, you
just,
but
hang on a second.
Okay. There you go. You look red. Okay, there you are.
There I am.
Okay, there you are. Great.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Good. So go for it.
You're talking about everything stopping. Was a perfect segue. I was scheduled March 18th to be shooting a co-star on Swimming with Sharks, and damn, that got shot down.
Yeah.
And I had a roommate briefly who was here from Oregon to be locations manager on an HBO series.
Wow.
And of course, he's back in Oregon now. So
Yes.
that's the end of that for God knows how long.
Mm-hmm.
But the good part is that stage production of Uncle Vanya that I was in, that some of you heard about.
Yeah.
After 6 extensions, we finally closed just before all hell broke loose
Wow.
for the coronavirus.
Great.
And we have been nominated for a Los Angeles Drama Critics Circle Award
Wow.
for Best Ensemble.
Yay.
Yay.
Cheers.
And
Great.
Best Direction.
Yes.
So we'll find out tomorrow. So thank you very much.
Good luck.
And I last year shot a 1-day short scene opposite Ben Affleck in The Way Back, and it came out just before everything shut down.
Yes.
And the LA Times review said glowing things about the whole thing and about the ensemble. So
Great.
I've been in good company recently.
Yes, that's great.
Great.
So is there anything you need or any
so
question? Anything you need or any
all of
questions
that
you
is
have?
Terrific.
Yeah,
I
sure.
would love to be able to pick up that production of Uncle Vanya and move it to a larger venue that pays the actors money. We
Yes.
were in one of those small theaters that you talked about as being, actually they've been a fringe festival host in the past.
Yes.
And it's just a terrific group. Actually, 2 of the productions that were nominated against or with, however you want to phrase that, are from the Geffen and the Amundsens. So,
Wow. That's great.
we're really excited about that.
Yes, that's terrific. But yeah, but absolutely, you can reach out to other larger venues. I mean, I think what you can do now is start making your list of who you want to reach out to, because
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, I already reached out to the what's her name? The Annenberg in Beverly Hills.
Yes.
And I got a connection there, but it hadn't gone any place. I was hoping that woman would come to a performance, obviously, and that didn't happen.
No.
But I heard a rumor that our producer may have videotaped it.
Cool.
So it's not as good as seeing it live, but it would be a tool.
Yes. Yes.
So if anybody has any suggestions or connections, more importantly,
Yes.
with appropriate venues, I would be so deeply appreciative. They've given me permission to take this and see if I can do anything with it.
That's great. That's great. Well, depending on how widely you want to show that that videotape production or the video, whatever phrase you use nowadays, that's something you might share with the table, either in clips or in totality. I mean, because the more people see the work and get excited about it, the more they think of like, oh yeah, well, my Uncle Charlie owns a theater or whatever, And
that's great.
yeah,
thank you.
I always yeah. Go ahead.
No, I haven't seen it myself yet. I have to talk with them about it. There you are.
Yeah.
Find you.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but again,
That's a great suggestion.
yeah, because I always believe that make the work superlative, and then make sure people see it. Because the work is what you lead with, and because I know for myself that when I see something that I really like, I'll make calls. I'll do people favors, but I won't if I don't like the work or if I don't see it.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I mean, there've been people who've gotten jobs as writers on staff because I made a phone call, and and so forth. But again, you can't do that often. Those are favors you can only call in rarely, and so one has to be very discerning. But absolutely share it. I mean, I'm a big Chekhov fan. I've seen actually a number of productions of Uncle Vanya. I saw one with my friend Roger Rees and Derek Jacobi in it, and Laura Linney. Laura Linney was in it, and it was a good cast. I
worked with her father.
Really. That's
Years
great.
ago.
That's
Okay.
great. But yeah, there's some. It's a great play. I love Chekhov. So anything else for now, April?
Yes, please. On the continuing side, I have a couple of those EchoCast self-tapes to pull together.
Great.
And I'm having tremendous technical difficulties. I have a friend who is going to read opposite me in the scene that has been assigned, so I don't have any options to go monologue. The problem is that my phone is the camera that's going to record it.
Yes.
That I have to submit. But in order for me to relate to her, I need a camera in my computer or something.
Yes.
And I don't have that. I have two computers. Neither of them has a camera.
Really?
So for me to communicate with my scene partner is a challenge that I'm not sure I'm up to.
There's a piece of equipment that is similar to a camera without being a camera. It's called a window. And so if your scene partner stood outside with the window closed and you stood inside with the window closed, they could be your scene partner and they wouldn't be exposing you to the potential of getting sick. And so that's one possibility, because Mel Brooks, who's 94 or 96 or whatever, he did a video with his son Max Brooks, who wrote World War Z, and they were talking about not exposing your older parents and so forth to the coronavirus. And so he was outside the screen door, the glass door, and his father was on the inside, and it was fine because of course there was no connection, there was no exposure. So you might use a window. It's something they had windows in like the 19th century and the 20th century before we were all on computers, and so you might try that.
Did you know King Lear was written during the plague?
Yes, and it really shows it. So, David, yes, what were you going to say?
There's another thing about that. Ellen DeGeneres did a home video clip recently with her producer, Andy, outside her house through the glass. He just wanted to drink a water, and she told him to go get a hose, so he's behind trying to find the hose. She's having the interview.
That's funny.
It's very funny.
That's great. So anything else?
I don't think funny is what this particular scene is aiming for.
The only other thing you could say, the only other thing you could do is you could put out an email to the table seeing if anyone has a spare computer, because most people do have older computers that still have cameras in them. But sincerely, that thing with the window would actually work. And so again, I think we all have to be extremely.
They did put out a proviso that if people got together to do something, that they would refuse to look at it.
Yes. But again, if the person is off camera, they're not going to know if it's a screen or if it's a window.
Question. Does it have to? Do they have to have a visual cue, or could it just be an audio cue through the computer?
Well, if worse came to worse, I think I'd have to go that way.
Yeah.
But it's, as an actor, it
yes.
helps exponentially to have a partner that you relate into.
And she only has one phone. and that's how she's recording it. Elaine was just asking about that. Again, if you put out an email to the table just for suggestions and solutions, you'll get them. You'll find them. People, there's, again, the trick for all of us right now is to just not be defeated and to find the solution, because there's always multiple solutions. And, it's, I mean, ventriloquism, you could get a ventriloquist dummy and that would work just fine.
Do any of our
When in doubt, ask a millennial.
Yes.
Does anybody have any?
Anybody
have any ideas about what she could do with her one phone?
No, well, you have one phone. I mean, how would you? I don't know how you do that. I don't think you can record. Let me think about it. If you're on a FaceTime call, I don't think it has a record feature. I don't believe so. I don't know. But put out the word and someone's going to solve it. Someone will solve it.
Yeah, and I also want another techie type thing. Doing voiceovers here at home. I'm trying to set up a voiceover in-home studio, and
Sure.
I've got a good mic, and I had stuff put together. I've got a headset which somehow has a jack that doesn't fit into anything, and I don't know why, because I used to use it, and I keep looking for an adapter that I kept. It's got to be people who know this. And I would love to do audiobooks and get to be partners with an editor who is an audio editor.
Right.
We could partner with it, because I really hate the editing part.
Yes. Well, I mean,
So
and
I'll
again,
put that out there too for anybody.
well, this is where foster children would just be the solution to so many things in your life. But no, I'm just seriously, no, I'm joking. But but again, put out the word. You'll get a lot of people who are willing to help you, and so many people have extra equipment just sitting around doing nothing. I mean, there's a ton of ways of making this work. So, but great. But thanks, April. Yay!
Okay, thanks so much. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Adam, any another question from Mr. Sci-Fi? Then we'll do.
This seems a bit of a personal question from Animadia.
Okay.
Are you atheistic or not in your life's philosophy? And does Space Command largely exist in a godless future, or does God still play a part in the future in your eye?
That's a good question. I'm basically an agnostic. I was raised Jewish. I consider myself still a Jew. I mean, I'm culturally a Jew. And we did celebrate Passover when I was a kid with my grandfather and my mom and my aunt and cousins and so forth. But Space Command, Bob Card was a Muslim. He and Doug Jones talk about prayer and so forth. It's not a godless universe in Space Command.
But basically, we don't, in any of our writing, we don't say yes or no. We have characters of every stripe.
But that said, I will get something, because some of you know about this. We're doing a book of the art of Mark Zickrey, because my actual degree is in painting, sculpture, and graphic arts, and I stopped doing artwork when I became a writer. But we're putting together art that I did from the age of 4 to the age of my early 20s. And so there's one thing I came upon digging into this, and I'll get it while Elaine talks, and you'll see.
But you have a Christmas tree every year.
Yes.
We do for fun. We do have a Christmas tree every year.
Because the dogs love tinsel.
They do love tinsel. Yes, happy dogs.
But okay, so this is germane to the question. When I was an art student at UCLA, they assigned us to do a self-portrait as a famous character, and so I did this. I don't know if you can see it. It's me as Jesus. And
Seems
so,
to upset the dogs.
yes, but guys, I'll take care of them.
Well, I mean, the main thing is that our heroes strive to be the best they can be, and our heroes strive for kindness. And there's so many different roads in that direction. If it's through your religion or through humanism, we have the range. It's we try to encompass as broad a base of views or solutions toward living a good life as we possibly can.
Yeah. Anyway, and that answers it. But of course, soon we'll be selling this, to add to the house, of course, because it's just such a wonderful piece of artwork. So great. So now we go to you, Gino. Somewhere, where are you, Gino?
There you are,
Gino.
Gino.
There he is. Hi, Gino. There you go.
Okay.
Go for
it. Okay. Hi, Gino. Actor, filmmaker, comedian. My beginning usual spiel. I'm available for table reads. Also, if I would fit the specifications and characteristics of anything that you may be casting, I'd be honored to read for you.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah. I meant to have called you guys today about something, but before getting into the main thing, I'll give you guys a call tomorrow. I've got some questions and whatnot I want to talk about.
Okay.
Sure, you bet.
My accent. Fabian told me to. I talked to him. He told me to tell you guys something. Hi. I'll probably be seeing him tomorrow.
Cool. Okay. Is that it?
So,
Or no, there's more.
No.
Well, keep going.
I figure other people can probably just picture the scenario. I figure a lot of people can get something out of this. It's yesterday was a real tough day. I was definitely tired, hadn't had enough sleep, and I had some insurance stuff I had to deal with. So like the outside work, but then I tried to do some work on the film, and I was just dragging, hating life, because Raven had put this little deal for me to do where she could understand the movie more fully, but it left me in the spot of knowing that acting and filmmaking and storytelling is what I'm put on the planet to do. And even when I'm on set and I'm just doing background, I know that's just even more confirmation that that's what I'm supposed to be.
Great.
And yeah, it just random. It just really was like running with me yesterday. It's like, what's wrong? What am I doing in this life? And,
yeah.
And then with the Modern Family deal, last night, not only the two ending episodes, but the 1 hour documentary, for lack of a better term. I watched all of that, and it just I got down on myself about it. Yeah. So with what the writer note that you said earlier, as well as what Michael Tabb mentioned, we kind of toned some, but I wanted to see if you had any coaching, motivation, words of wisdom. I feel a hell of a lot better today.
Well, yeah. Well, here's several things in that regard. First of all, when you're feeling, this is true for all of us, this is advice for everybody. When you're feeling particularly centered and sure of yourself and your best self, record a video to talk to yourself when you're down, okay, and play that, so that, because then you're because all of us have those moments of doubt and those moments of, God, am I just doing crap here, or is nothing ever going to work, or all of those things. But so make a recording where you basically give yourself a pep talk when you really are centered and know who you are, and that will help a lot, because you'll realize that this is just a passing moment and it's not going to last forever feeling like shit. But secondly, also surround yourself with people who are positive, people who are upbeat. Like, do not hang around toxic people. Do not engage with toxic people. And recognize that your self-talk is just an impediment toward getting where you're going.
Well, also, generally speaking, when you start writing a piece, you have an impulse of something you really, really want to say. In the rewrite and the rewrite and the rewrite and the notes, sometimes it's easy you start looking at the technical stuff and you sort of lose your way. And that's where I think it's sometimes helpful to call somebody, any friend, and you say, can I just talk this through? This is the scene, and this is at heart what I want to say. And have a conversation of what motivated you to start in the first place, and what it is you wanted to communicate, and what it is you really wanted to share that you felt was of value. And in that verbal conversation, I have a feeling you're going to get back to why you were writing it, and you get a response of saying, oh my God, I'd never thought of that from the other person. Or that would be wonderful to hear.
Yes.
So it's sometimes you get lost in the tech, have a one-to-one conversation where you're just communicating directly and having the direct response, and it often reminds you of how valuable that particular insight that initially drew you to start all this hard work, where that came from.
Yeah.
And that sometimes revives you.
Yeah. And then the final thing is, and this is super important, remember that it's hard. it's just creating anything of quality is difficult. And so there are going to be days and weeks and months and years where it's just fucking hard. And if you just commit that you're not going to stop no matter what, it doesn't matter if you're in a good mood, in a bad mood. It doesn't matter if it's hard or easy on a given day. You're getting where you're going. It takes so much pressure off, because then you don't have to decide, oh, well, I'm going to quit. I'm not going to quit. No, the answer is you just put one foot in front of the other. And that helps me enormously. The fact that I have taken on being unstoppable. Here we are in a pandemic. Do I give a shit? No.
Well,
no, but I'm taking precautions and all of that. No, but what I mean is, it's irrelevant to my creative journey. My creative journey is to get where I'm going. And so whatever the impediment is, I get around it. It's like, just remembering the producers, when he's thrown in prison, he puts on Prisoners of Love. It's like, that guy, emulate that guy, Sarah Mostel in The Prisoners, in the producers, But this is also why the table exists, Gino, because we all have those times when we just are doubting what the hell we're doing. I mean, even Christ had the Garden of Gethsemane, et cetera, et cetera. We're saying, well, I'd rather not be doing this, but he got a pep talk from God, and you see how well that turned out. But speaking about religion again, so but yeah, the table exists so we all have each other in those dark moments. Someone said, and I agree with it. They said, if you're having a shitty week, come to the table. If you're having a great week, come to the table, because both are the reasons to come to the table. And I agree 100%. So anything else for now?
No.
Okay, cool. Yay. Cheers. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam. Is there anything else that we need to respond to? And then we'll do Akira, and then we will do Elaine, and then me, and then we're good to go.
Oh, really? We're
almost done.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
O.D. Dillon asks, have you or Bill Mooney ever considered a sequel to the Cornfield episode?
Yes.
Bill scared so many viewers in something where the older child realizes the errors of his ways.
Well, it's very interesting, because when I was on Sliders, when I was producing Sliders during its 4th season at Universal, Bill and I actually had lunch and discussed a Sliders episode where they were going to slide to that community where Bill Mumy is now grown up as that character who has enormous power. It would have been very fun to do it, and it never came to fruition, but it was a great idea. Bill actually did a sequel to It's a Good Life on Twilight Zone when they returned in one of their later iterations. I haven't seen that episode, so I can't.
It's not bad. Cloris Leachman's in it again.
Right.
His daughter plays Anthony's daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's not quite the same, but it's interesting to see the character stop by again.
Yes. I mean, it's a terrific short story or novella by Jerome Bixby, and it's a great Twilight Zone episode. I mean, Serling really nailed it, and it's a terrific ensemble. Not just Bill Mumy, but as you say, Cloris Leachman and John Larch and Don Kiefer and all those actors. It's a terrific episode. So so now we go to you, Akira. Go for it. Oh, are you there, Akira?
Akira?
Yeah. Turn on your microphone. There you go.
Hello. Okay. How's it going, everybody?
Good.
Hi. Yeah. This is Akira. I'm a film composer and guitarist and Japanese language instructor. And, I've been a member of the table maybe 6 months or some other months, And I'm composing for mainly focusing on the horror and some kind of horror, terror, and suspense kind of stuff, some weird and dissonant music. And David Bertrand, he's using my music, his own comedy short movie. It's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also working with a table member of the Michael Flanagan. He's making right now. He's always organizing several horror movie event or some other short movie event on North Hollywood every year, maybe twice or 3 times or something. And working on his feature horror film also. And the other is Ken, and he's also asking me some short film. He's making a short suspense film, and I'm working on it.
Great.
Yeah, and also I'm working for the Hungary documentary film director. Her name is she's also a table member. Claudia Kovacs. She's from Hungary. Uh-huh. And then try to make some documentary stuff because her mother was the Olympic athlete and 1964, the former Tokyo Olympic.
Wow.
And now, Tokyo Olympic gonna happen maybe next year, I think, that this year is canceled,
Yeah.
And maybe she's trying to make a documentary, related to Tokyo and her family, and there's something's going on now. And but so many things is pending now, and she's right now trying to figure it out and reorganizing her, team member.
Great.
And that's what I'm working on for the film, and also teaching guitar, and I'm accepting more students for the Japanese language lesson now. That's all about me so far.
Great. Okay, well, great.
Yeah.
Yay, good to see you.
Yeah.
So now I think it's your turn, Elena.
Has everybody had their turn?
Is there a Mr. Sci-Fi question? Then we can do Elena, then we can do me, and then we can, go to our different fates. Oh, who hasn't gone yet? I heard a voice. Who was it?
Me, Husani.
Oh, great. Sure, yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's your turn then. Go ahead.
I'm muting my microphone.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. My camera's not working.
Yeah, your microphone's distorting.
But Mark's the biggest Husani from New York. Oh, hold on.
Sure.
The mic must have a virus.
There. When there's Barbara. So, okay.
How about now?
Yeah, sure.
Gotcha.
Go for it.
Great. To Husani from New York. I've been a team member for a while. I met you guys. I think probably the most memorable one was when I was out there being considered for the role of Tupac.
Yes. I remember. 4
or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm of course in New York during the time of Rona, and it's been good to hear you guys talk about this. This is not the time to sit back, but really is the time to dig in and go forward, because I feel like I've been like the only person saying that to people around here.
Yes.
Where they're like, "Oh man, we're gonna stay safe," and I'm like, "Stay safe." I was like, I don't need to get sick. Like, I don't give a shit about safety. Like, let's do it. I'm like, let's get this script running. Let's do things. So while most of my friends like just like, I don't know, trying to survive while filling their heads with paranoia watching the news.
Yeah, I think the news is something to be taken in small doses lately. But so is there anything you need?
Yeah. No, actually, I just like I'm kind of just actually there's one thing which I'll get to the end.
Sure.
Get at the end, but I just kind of just decided to fill up my plate. So I'm happy to say that I'm working on more projects now than I was before.
Good.
That's great.
So I'm doing like 2 documentaries, a feature film that I was writing that like from the back burner. I was like, I'm just gonna start writing that again. And then the thing that's got the most traction, which I was excited to tell you about, or am excited to tell you about, was another member that I met at the table those years ago. Her name is Layla.
Mm-hmm.
She relocated to South Virginia.
Huh.
But we kept in contact the whole time.
Huh.
She actually wrote a screenplay for a short that I did 2 years ago then in Cannes.
Wow.
And the last year and a half we've been working on this TV show together. And it is, I mean, she is just phenomenal with the stuff that she comes up with. Like, it's crazy. So yeah, we're like, I think we're about like, we're putting the final touches, maybe like a week or so away.
That's great.
From the pilot. I mean, that's the first pilot in really good condition. And she's got connections to people, and I've got connections to Jason Bloom at Bloomhouse. I met him at a party, and Amy Pascal. So
wow,
we're gonna send it their way within the next week or two.
That's great.
And see what happens. So fingers crossed on that. But I just want to thank you guys, because it just means a lot to hear the words that you guys are saying about, this is the time to double down, not to take a vacation. Because I just been like cheerleading myself this whole time.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's great. Well, 3 cheers for you. So great. Well, you're always welcome here. Yay! So I guess one more person is joining.
Also,
yeah.
I need.
Yeah.
Is, if there's any I have a documentary that I'm trying to do in New York. So if anyone knows any documentary filmmakers who are brave, like brave enough to go outside right now,
right?
And B-roll, that would be great.
If you're on the table email, you could send out that request, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of response.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Cool.
Good idea.
Good. Great. And so one more person has joined us. That's Barbara. Or did you have something to say, Adam? I'm sorry.
Was there somebody?
Oh, I was just gonna pick one more.
Sure.
Of these Mr. Sci-Fi questions.
Sure.
Here's a really good one from Mark McMinn, who asks, do you use animatics? If so, what software?
I use a software called Dave Edison.
And it's getting softer every day.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. The essentially, when I became, all the time I was growing up, I knew I would either be a writer or an artist, and I was drawing and painting and sculpting and writing and doing all these things all through my childhood and through my teens and 20s. But then to become a writer, to get good at it, I gave up art pretty much entirely. And so, and that includes things like every now and then I'll do very, very rough storyboards, like I call them Snoopy Grams because they look like Charles Schultz drawings. But in terms of the animatic, we are working on an animatic right now, which is the Space Command prequel, The United Planet, which we've done as an audio play and also as a I'm sorry, someone has their mic mic on. It's somebody. I think it's somebody has their mic on, but turn it off. But anyway, Dave is doing an animatic combining the graphic novel and the audio play of the Space Command prequel. It's coming out great. We're going to post it soon. It's really terrific. So anything you want to mention to that, Dave, about that?
I work on some of the work on that. I'll do directly in Adobe Premiere, and some of it I'll do in Photoshop. In After Effects, but I need Photoshop to modify the images so that they can be animated or broken apart.
Cool.
And we've also done that for some of the storyboards.
Yes.
As we were doing the original cut of Space Command.
Right.
But that's too long ago to even remember.
Yeah. Yes, that was cuneiform. So, Barbara, I guess it's your turn. Go for it. Well, I think you need to turn your mic back on. We can't hear you. Can you turn your mic on? There you go.
Hi, guys.
Great.
Hi.
Yes.
Awesome.
Great.
I had no idea how to raise my hand. I was last time there as well.
Huh.
And I figured out, I have to raise my hand. So I'm Barbara Grace Romano. I changed my last name back to my legal name, which is Romano. I'm happy about that. I have a few questions. One of it is, I started a GoFundMe campaign on GoFundMe. And I was just wondering if, I'm looking for my pen. I was just wondering if anyone has any great resources on how to do a successful campaign. And then other question is, so I've been working on a TV show for 3.5 years, and I want to mail something to an actress who also has a production company, and who I think might be interested. And I was wondering, if I mail her something, what do I mail her? An outline and character description? I do have a link and the link address to find my digital Bible. Is that enough? I just don't know what's a professional way to.
Most actors and so forth will not accept material unless it's submitted by an agent. Because
exactly, that's what I'm planning to. Wait, hold on. I think it was you who said last time you can send it wasn't you, but I do know that
I wouldn't say
you can
that.
send an envelope to their agents or managers, and they have to submit it to the actor
that's
by law.
No, that's not true. They have to, if there's a money offer, they are legally obligated to let the actor know that there's an offer on the table. Many agents and managers do not do this, surprisingly. But if there's no money, they'll just send it back to you. They won't forward it on.
No, and generally you don't snail mail anything.
Well, again, this is all useless.
Yeah.
This is useless to even talk about. You must find the way. Look, it's all about what gets the person on the other end interested enough to consider something. And most people are using zero. They have nothing to recommend why someone should check the thing out. I mean, why am I doing Mr. Sci-Fi? Why am I doing Space Command? Why am I doing all these things? To create things that will interest people. And it's like, because unless you are coming off a huge success is the most persuasive thing of all. And then of course having money in hand. Those are the two things that will actually get someone to pay attention. So if you just had a huge movie that made $1 gazillion, then they're going to pay attention. But if you're someone they've never heard of, who has no card to play, it's extremely hard to get people to pay attention. And that's why I'll also go to events and I'll meet people, because sometimes if you meet someone in person, they'll cut you a break, they'll consider something. But again, it's you have to figure out what's going to get people to actually pay attention, what's going to cut you away from the herd, because there's so much material being submitted, it's impossible to consider all of it. And so the way they first cut away most people is, have I heard of this person? Do I know this person? Have they just had a big success? Or do they have the money? And if the answer is no to all those things, then you're not going to be, it won't work. So
because without having won a contest or having a relationship with somebody else who says it's a great script,
yes.
The thing is, if you come from nowhere, what you have to do sometimes is build a whole bunch of little bridges.
Yes.
To the people surrounding the actor, and you build the bridges, which gives you credibility, where it becomes worth their time to sit down and read it.
Right. Most people make the mistake thinking it's the content that will convince the person. That is absolutely not true. It is never the content, because the content has to be considered to be persuasive, and if they don't read it, it's useless.
Well, ultimately, it's the content, but not until you have a lot of those bridges built. You have the money, they know that you can make it, or it's come through somebody that they trust. But to do it cold,
yes,
that you have to understand, it's not about people being reticent. It's about the fact that everybody is under siege. They have thousands of scripts, and most of them are pretty bad. And so that's why it becomes a little more difficult to just reach them cold.
Yeah.
It's not that they're cold, it's just that there's too much coming at them.
Well, like, for instance, just to put it this way, I mean, I get emails from people all the time where it's like, dear Mr. Zickery, or dear Mr. Space Command, or whatever they say. They'll say, I have, here is my script for it, blah, 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 and I would like you to consider it. No. The answer is no. And but what all of us need to do is see what we do that works and do more of that, as I said earlier. And so you would start, I think, with the people who you do know, and then see if they're willing to be your warriors to get your stuff to the people they know. But that's asking a lot. And so it's a years-long process of building your army of people who will be on your side. And
or you do something on the net which gets a tremendous amount of attention, and they come to you.
Yeah. But
like winning a writing competition, something like that.
Well, I mean, yes, but there's only a few writing competitions that matter. Most of them are just total frauds.
Which ones mattered?
The Nichols and the various network writing competitions, and the Scriptapaloozas, okay, but again, most people miss the point, and the point is create really good work. Do something really good and get it out into the world. And I run two tracks in my career. One is to do the work and get the work out to an audience, and that's something I'm ongoing, and that always has the priority. But secondly, ongoingly for the last 40 years and more, 50, I've sought out people whose work I admire, and I've become their friend. And part of being their friend is being a human being, but also part of being of their friend is looking for ways you can help them, looking for opportunities you can give them. There are many friends of mine who are showrunners where I would set up lunches between them and other showrunners so they would know each other. And it wasn't about them hiring me. It was about me getting them, because I knew, or sometimes I would have directors and have me introduce them to showrunners, working television directors, because I knew that there would be a point at which they would need each other and they would hire each other. And because they found benefit, then that makes them like me, beyond just the human quality of people who are friendly. But I look for ways that I can be of use to people, because that builds relationship. Like the reason I did the book for Guillermo del Toro was to learn from him. It wasn't that I needed to write another book. So I certainly don't. And but it's like it's a strategic game of building relationships, because if no one knows you and you have no work you can point to say this is superlative, and it's never your opinion that it's superlative, by the way, it's other people. So
and not your mom,
but like I got nominated for the Hugo and the Nebula, which are the 2 top awards in science fiction. We've got nominated for the Humanitas Prize and have won a bunch of other awards and so forth. It's like there are a lot of people who are fans of our work, where people will believe them because they're fans of those people's work, and so you got.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
yeah. So that's.
How about the GoFundMe campaign? Do you have any resources on how to do great campaigns?
Again, my whole attitude is it's not about my need, it's about the need of the person who gives me money. So it's like people want to watch Space Command, so they give me money because it's actors they love and they like stuff I've done in my career.
It's good to start out on the site and look at the campaigns that are
succeeded,
that are succeeding,
and see what they did.
And you'll see that one of the main things is that it's not put money in my thing. It's like I need this because the corporations will never give me money for this. It's something that I think you'd want to see, and you start talking not as though you're trying to sell something where some real bigwigs, they couldn't get any of that kind of money because they were just trying to sell the sucker. What you say is, hey, what sell to the sucker?
No, whatever. Go on.
Well,
keep going. What's your point?
The whole point is that it's like we're a family. This is something that we can make together.
Mansons. Yeah.
No. If you get the sense, if you reach out and you say, this is specifically what I want to accomplish, and here's my specific objective, and this is how, if working with you as a family, as a group, we can get this done. That's really key to a campaign, to a good campaign. But we made a study of the people who were succeeding. And you can also see the people who do not succeed, and you say, oh, those mistakes are pretty obvious. So studying the site itself is very helpful.
Yeah, but also you can Google succeeding at a GoFundMe campaign and see who pops up and what they say. And it's like, I mean, there's no easy shortcut. Nothing is going to be easy. Everything is going to be a challenge. But the flip side of that is that's why my whole thing is to simplify everything, and my whole thing is to cut directly to the chase. It's like if I were starting out now, as opposed to when I started out back, in the 70s, I would shoot something. I would put it on the internet. I would publicize it. I would find the way. I wouldn't be writing spec scripts, and frankly, spec scripts is not what got me a career. What got me a career was 2 things. One was writing the Twilight Zone companion, so I could learn from these great, amazing people. And the other was my friend Michael Reeves, who was writing animation and brought me in to collaborate. And that's what got my career started. So it was the work, doing the work, that got my career started. And that's what I would advocate for everyone. No one is going to. Most people think that they have an innate sense of value and that their ideas are great. That's natural. We all think that, or we tend to think that. But we have to prove it to the world. And the way we prove that is through work that gets approbation, that gets noticed and lauded, celebrated. And that takes hard work. Heavy lifting, hustle, all those things. So, that's not a great answer, but it's an answer. So anything else, Barbara? And then it's Elaine's turn.
That's it. Thank you
so
much.
You bet. Yay. So Elaine, go for it, Elaine.
Well, for me, what's been very, very interesting is to be in the middle of this science fiction situation of that COVID-19 epidemic.
You mean living this thing that's like all these movies we've seen, except there aren't zombies.
Yes, except there aren't zombies. And it's very interesting in that it's very interesting to look around you and to look at what you yourself are doing, and that it's much more complicated and somewhat less melodramatic than all these science fiction films.
Right.
In terms of people patiently waiting in line rather than tearing each other apart at the grocery store.
It's early, Elaine.
It's early, yes,
yeah.
And all of the inventive ways in which people are keeping their lives going, which you see on the net. And so I find that very, very touching. I saw on on the news, New Yorkers cheering at 7:00 exactly, cheering the health workers.
Yeah, that was great.
And you could hear it, all across the city. I just found that so touching. And so I'm always inspired by some of these dark moments where you see people coming out and being incredibly inventive. Yeah. And both Mark and I are saying we've got to write down some of the details because it's really such a much richer landscape.
Yeah, but there's still World War Z, which is
great.
It's
pretty
World
good.
War Z.
Yeah,
I just got the 3D version of that. I'm going to watch that in 3D.
Yeah.
So what are you up to and what do you need?
Well, actually, what I'm up to is, fortunately, because I'm living with this person, is that I have stuff to do and stuff to create every day.
Yeah.
And I find that is what is the most heartening. Looking forward to getting something accomplished that I care about every day, and it's one of the things that really keeps me going.
Yes.
I mean, part of it is to say, oh well, I'm locked in. I might as well just take a lot of naps. But that, of course,
no, it's not going to work.
That's not going to work because I've had moments and times in my life when I felt I was living in a vacuum, and there was nothing more painful than living in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really thankful that I'm overworked.
It's
so
great.
That's
it's
it
great.
for me.
Yay! Future Lane. Yay! So now, and is there any last Mr. Sci-Fi question? Then I'll have my turn. What, Adam? Is there anything else to ask?
I cut off the questions.
Okay, that's fine then. So that's fine. But anyone who isn't a subscriber to Mr. Sci-Fi, definitely go on YouTube and subscribe to Mr. Sci-Fi because you'll see what we're doing on a daily basis. In terms of us, I mean, we're doing the Space Command script. We're in post on hours 2 and 3. We're in prep on hour 4, which will resume shooting. We'll shoot when this lifts, but this new episode that we're writing now is just entirely going to be done during the pandemic with our actors shooting their own scenes on their own cameras. It's very exciting. And I'm writing Sweet Haven, which is the pilot I'm creating with Rocky O'Bannon, continuing with the Showrunners Network. So that's 6 pilots that we'll be doing, and with Mark Fergus and all these other guys. And beyond that, I'm writing the Greenlighting Yourself book. And building the futuristic car, Tony Shand on our Space Command team, and Eric Rodriguez. Just continuing everything we're doing. It's a thrill to be working with these amazing actors. Mira Furlan and Bill Mumy and Bob Picardo and Michael Harney, and on and on. I mean, J.G. Hertzler. I've wanted to work with him for a long time. He played Klingons and things on Star Trek, and he's great. And he's in upstate New York, and he'll be playing one of the characters. So he'll be playing the son of Jack Kemmer. And the grandfather of Matt Kemmer. So these are 2 characters, because Space Command takes place over 150 years. It's 5 generations. So it's really fun to be exploring that in this way. And we're just having a good old time. I'm really glad I bought my 4K television before the pandemic. And so we're able to look at movies in great detail and TV shows. But we're limiting ourselves. So we're only watching 1 or 2 hours of television in the evening at most. We do not, because there's many things in our lives that are time sucks. We have to be very careful. So, but fortunately, we're having a great time. We're healthy. We're staying careful, and it's really nice. We're having a lovely time. We're grateful to all of you for being part of our world. And
as long as you don't pay any attention to the politics.
News. Yeah. Well, we won't go there. But no, it's a great time, and we all hope everyone stays healthy and happy and safe. And beyond that, we're going to continue this every Thursday until the pandemic lifts. And then I think we will have maybe once a month Zoom table as well. I think that is a good suggestion. And that's about it for now, I think. If anyone has anything else they would need to... Oh, Dave, were you going to say something?
Yeah. I just wanted to mention that on the chat area there, Shai posted that the show that I did some work on her for and did the webisode editing is online, so you can at least see a few of the webisodes.
Oh, great.
It's at southofsanityshow.com.
That's great.
South of Sanity Show.
Great.
And just a little warning that Shai put up that there is some nudity and drug use, so please enjoy.
That's great. That's great. Well,
and those moral characters you mentioned earlier, there might not be very many.
Yes, but that's okay. But see, that's the wonderful thing. We can all... It's not about walking someone else's path. It's about telling your truth, whatever that truth is. So Ray Bradbury, who was my mentor for over 10 years, he always said to me, don't look outward, look inward. And he was absolutely right. And that's what makes work valuable. Because if you're just doing a ripoff of someone else's show or their movie or whatever, then there's nothing original, and it has to come from your heart.
Well, even Dumb and Dumber, I heard the fellow speak about Dumb and Dumber, and I was not a fan of that.
Right,
but many people were, and I found out why. It was because he loved that stuff.
Yes, he
the
did.
writers loved that stuff and thought it was so funny.
Exactly.
And it flew.
Yeah, so to speak. So, okay, great. Well, so in that regard, thank you all for being here. We've had a great time as always, and we'll be here next week. And to the Mr. Sci-Fi and the table people, keep doing it. Keep on the path.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
Talk soon.
Good
Take
night.
care. Bye. Thanks.
Good
Thank you,
night.
guys. And we'll end this, and we are done. Bye, guys. Okay. Beep. That's it.